What is up, everyone? My name is Gracey with Northern Astrology, and I am so excited to be back here today. Not only is it Pisces season, it is March 1st. If are stuck in the Gregorian calendar timeline like I am. So, yeah, welcome in. I'm super excited today to be back talking about my favorite thing, which happens to be the Sabian symbols. Okay, so I have been a huge fan of these ancient symbols since 2020 when my best friend decided to give me kind of like a highlight of, hey, you're a Pisces Mercury. What about these symbols? These are ancient symbols that were channeled in 1925, and they give visual representations to each and every degree of the zodiac. So naturally, the fact that I already am interested in hallucinating symbols and seeing things in mystical realms, I was sold. And part of my whole 2020 adventure of astrology, as well as just kind of like the pandemic and all of that happening, was really going within and discovering myself. And more of that led to more intricate parts of astrology. So I have been studying these symbols for about 6 years, and they have slowly become my signature. There's almost like a thing where if some sort of news event or mundane astrology event, whatever you want to call it. But mundane astrology comes from the Thelma Mundi, by the way, like the chart of the world that is a Cancer rising at 15 degrees and the moon is in Cancer at 15 degrees. And it just shows you all of the planets on the quote unquote Earth's astrology chart. So it's something very interesting to think about. Life on Earth is anything but mundane by definition, right? So that word has to come from somewhere else. And that's where a lot of the times I think we can get caught up in words, meanings, affiliations, and sides of things, and the arguing and the nonstop just going against each other. And I still go back to that quote from Marcus Aurelius that I butcher each and every time because I am neither a philosopher nor a stoic. I've tried to be a stoic as I am Saturn dominant in my chart. My Gemini moon, my chart ruler just kicks in though. So no matter how intense Saturn wants to be and wants to talk about like the sadness and the intensities of life, Saturn can't drag me down because my Gemini moon will always be a clown. It will always try to go with laughter. And it doesn't really help that my moon is sextile my sun, which is at the comedic degree in the Sabian symbols. So I know I started talking about the Sabian symbols. My good friend was watching one of my streams where I was trying to explain something else. It was one of my live streams that I was doing for Chiefs, and it was also around the same time that my editor with Ninth House Publishing and I were becoming known as the K-State Witches. It was more Mariah removing the spell from the K-State football team, and then all of these amazing, immaculate things started happening. And, the muggles were like, what's going on? And with the term muggle that I use, it's just because, hello, I'm a Harry Potter kid, grew up with it, and I feel like millennials, most of them are, and then younger, of course, too. But yeah, the muggles is the best term that I can use for like non-magically aware people. It's not that they're non-magical, they're non-magically aware. And, magic exists whether you are aware of it or not. And a lot of the times we don't realize our magic comes from our words, our actions, our intentions, and the things that we say. And so why does Twitter seem to be on fire right now with the astro community? I unfortunately get filled in with these things from time to time with the few people that I do, become social with in the astrology community. I have my little bubble. And I stick to it because it seems that, when you build your own community from the ground up, you find the people that align with your values, the people that align with your direction in life, and the people that align with where you want to go with your career. And when I became a professional astrologer in 2021, I had been an anonymous account before that. And I had been in just I guess it would be in circles where I was like a meme account and I wasn't really sharing a lot of my astrology knowledge because I was still learning it. You cannot just casually jump into astrology and know it overnight. There's no way. There's no way that you can chat GPT your way out of just not knowing shit about shit. And if you are one of those people that uses astrology to profit and to manipulate others and to, I don't know, I guess control outcomes or things like that, it's going to be hard for you. Astrology, of course, can predict outcomes. Of course, astrology can predict outcomes. That's what astrology has been utilized for from the ancient times to current times. There are always going to be magicians with government staff mixed in. There are always going to be people in this world, in this very world that we live in, that are occult workers behind the scene, and that's okay. I like to live in a world that is not fear-based and not fear-mongering. I know that all people that try to take something like an ancient art form as intricate as astrology and utilize it to their advantage and manipulate others or try to control others or hex others or just in general be kind of reckless with it. That is something that I'm like, hey, that's going to fall back on you in ways that I certainly don't fucking want to deal with. Like, I'm sorry. If somebody does me wrong, they can kick rocks. They can get out of here. I'm good. I don't want to see you. And I have gotten more and more strong in my boundaries over the years. So, you know, a lot of people are saying this prediction astrology stuff has gone too far. And I kind of agree. It's not because like I'm just not doing predictions anymore. Like I don't look at things and like kind of hallucinate about them, about what could be. I have 2 children that are very active, as well as my aging father to take care of on a daily basis, as well as myself. So I have a very full schedule, and I am not the person to go to for political astrology. There's plenty of people that do that with ethical and moral kind of solid ground. There's also people that use astrology for shock value, that use astrology as gotcha moments, or use astrology to feel validated in their magical powers. I have people in my daily life and in my personal life, in my home each and every day that validate my magical existence. I know my magic is real. I know my magic works. I know everything that I do is magical in nature. And I know that because I feel it myself, the people around me feel it, and that's where I pour most of my magical energy to, is to the people I love. And of course, that includes me, and protection and grounding and just making sure our hearts are filled with love and we have pure intentions. That is my job as the matriarch of the house, right? So I'm used to that on a daily basis. Was I always an ethical and morally upstanding person? No, I have Mars in Capricorn. I was very much calculated in my business moves. In my 20s, I was very much trying to climb up a ladder of sorts, a ladder of notoriety, but it was like a really small ladder. And like everyone I met from my mentors that saw me as this like global giant personality, down to the people that were like in my life, had no idea or understanding of marketing, media, or anything like that. And they were like, why are you so obsessed with becoming like the best in Kansas City? Like you are somebody that's going to be worldwide. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't limit myself to just Kansas City, right? So I've been doing a lot more about like globally and being more of a presence and not just one location. But it's kind of nice to not just be focusing on one area. A lot of my sports astrology work focuses on Kansas City centric things like Kansas City sports, or Kansas area sports like Kansas State football. So there's a lot of things that I talk about, and there's a lot of things that I cover. A lot of things that I did last year that I'm not doing currently, but who knows? There's a lot of things that could, of course, my dog decides to freak out at the moment. Give me 1 second. Who knows? Who knows? But there's all sorts of things that happen within the world of astrology that you can kind of like jump back into at any moment. So I have been developing my Sabian Symbols work through all of that and through everything. I think I just got deneuralized by that barking. So honestly, I think I'm more annoyed that I was like on a straight thought. So if you guys remember what I was saying, jump into chat and we can talk about it. But just having all the different depths of astrology, having all the different layers of astrology, I think that we can use it for more than just being like, haha, I was right. Haha, I'm a wizard. Haha. I gotcha. Haha. I know everything. Because it's kind of become this thing where I'm like, yeah, of course you were right. You know, you see the planets, you see everything lining up, and and we all get to have our unique interpretation of these placements, of these charts, of these signs, of these aspects, of all of these different ancient theories. I think that's what I was talking about. I was talking about how I use most of my magic on my little bubble, and that's how I keep things going. But I am pouring more of myself back into my Sabian Symbols work and my degree theory work, and kind of trying to start from the beginning. And that's where I have failed in my astrology debut. I kind of got cast into this like, hey, you're now a completely and totally public outed astrologer on ESPN, and now everyone that you know knows it, and there's no way that you can hide anymore. I didn't even have my readings ready to go on my website because I was taking a break. I kept saying I need a break from this, I need a break from this, and like turns out when you constantly think you need a break from something, it's because you're burnt out and you need to just take a small little one and then refresh yourself and come back. So it was very much like I launched my website and I was planning on launching it October 2023. I ended up going completely mega viral on a lot of different platforms. I was finding myself on all of the places, which is kind of like how astrologers just deal with things lately. Like our work will be found, like a screenshot from Twitter will be found on an Instagram threads post, and then that Instagram thread post is shared on a Facebook group, and that Facebook group takes a screenshot of that, and it's like you just never know. You just never know where your work will reach. So if I could say anything about the astrology process and finding your niche or finding what you love doing, it is 100% keep going. There's going to be a lot of people in your life that tell you that it's kind of silly or doesn't make sense to them. That's cool. Just because I don't understand nuclear physics doesn't mean I don't believe in it. Right? Like, it just kind of cracks me up when people are like, I don't believe in astrology. And it's like, cool. I don't believe in, I don't know, persecuting people because of their gender or orientation. Are we going to like just make that a mandatory thing too, that it just stops because you don't believe in it? Unfortunately, I wish it were that easy, because if we could just stop things with our mind, I think we would have done that by now. But this is a really intense climate. I'm not making light of anything that we have going on. There are lots of people in a lot of frantic states right now. And the best thing that I can offer that is free, that doesn't require going to some $5,555 mountain retreat with a starseed Palladian light code reader. Not that I'm dissing those people. They all have their roles. Everyone has their roles in the spiritual awakening. Everyone has their role and their part to play in the revolution. It's how we package these things that can be a little bit scam artisty. And quite honestly, from my perspective, I understand why people are frustrated with the general spiritual community. I understand why they think it's a little bit kooky. After being on Instagram for like 5 minutes the other day, I ran into like 8 different like past life regression coaches. They're like, find your past lover and twin flame now. And I'm like, look, we're getting a little bit gimmicky here, but it's always been gimmicky. No matter what industry you are in, there is always somebody cheesing it up, playing the parts, doing the most. And it doesn't matter if it's astrology or if it's tire sales. There's always going to be somebody with rockets shooting off at their store trying to get you to come in and buy tires. There's always going to be somebody advertising under every single tweet they post, like, come book a reading with me. And it's like, I will never advertise readings. I'm just really good at what I do. And if you want to work with me, cool. If not, I've got other shit to do. So please know that it's not like I'm sitting around like, oh my God, I hope I can survive today on astrology readings. No, I have so many things going on in my life that my astrology work is a gift. I look forward to this. Like, Sundays are my day to focus on me. And as a 10th house exalted sun ruled by an exalted Mars, I love me some me. And that's okay, because it's like, if I don't love myself, who else will? So the more that I have just been able to shine bright, do what I do best, the better. So I don't have any slideshows today. I have absolutely nothing prepared visually for you to look at. So if you are a visual learner and you prefer seeing all these things written down, I might write a book one day, so stay tuned. But if you are someone that's cool with me holding up a book, showing you what I love, talking about the things that I understand, you're going to have a lot of fun. So I have been yapping for about 20 minutes now about all the things that I've been up to. I guess I also really pissed some people off with my Salt Life tweet the other day, where I was like, I finally get it. Like I have lived in the Midwest my entire life. Everyone here in the Midwest is a very anxious people. They think that they need to get to the restaurant 30 minutes before the reservation just in case. Everyone here, like especially at school pickup and drop off, parents will park in line and sit there for 2 hours before school gets out just to make sure that they're one of the first ones there to pick up their child. And that's great. If you have the time to just sit around in your car and like stress about these things, cool, go off. I don't have that kind of time. So, I'm like, hey, I zoom in at the very end of it. I'm like, what's up? I'm here. But like, I didn't realize how anxious they were until I went to the beach myself for the first time in a minute. And I think it was the first time in like 5 years. And the last time I was on the beach, it was during a global pandemic. So no one was out. Like, and if they were all very distant and no one talked to each other. No one came close to each other. It was very, very controlled. So it kind of made me laugh. I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I missed this beach and everyone just drove so slowly there. They weren't in a rush. People were just like, hey, how you doing? And they were so sweet. It was also the South. Who knows? Maybe that's just Southern hospitality. I also was like, okay, now I feel better. And that whole thing about the sun and fresh salt air has to be real. So yeah, yesterday when I saw this Salt Life sticker, I was like, I get it now. This is so sweet. This person is like, I might be stuck in Kansas, but I yearn for the fresh salt air. And I was like, that's kind of nice. It's like, that's cute. Like, I get it now. And I get, like, I don't need to make fun of it anymore because I used to. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are such a tools. Like, there's no ocean anywhere near Kansas. And that's what I was like growing up. So it was just a nice moment. I shared it, and apparently I am patronizing and looking down on the Salt Lifers, and I missed the total meaning. But then I looked up the meaning of Salt Life, and then like the co-founder had killed his girlfriend, and I'm like, maybe we don't need to sport these stickers. Moment ruined. So, hey, who fucking knows? I'm not trying to sit here and tell anyone how to live their life. I am just enjoying my observations. I'm enjoying being able to use something as revolutionary as astrology to show people their magic. Like, everyone is born with a purpose, and we get to fucking tell people about it and show them these parts of themselves that they might not even know about. So if you're into that kind of stuff, cool, hit me up. You know where to find me. The links are in the info in this YouTube channel. Or if you're watching on X, I feel like it takes a certain type of person these days to be on Twitter. So kudos to you if you're one of those people. I'm just one of those people that refuse to leave. I'm like, I can't do it. I love this app too much. I love the people on the app too much. They're quick thinking. They might have a lot of questions. They might, ask Grok for a lot of things. If you ask Grok a question in my comments, please know I will block you. Oh, and that's the other thing. AI. I didn't realize that my takes on AI were so triggering either. I just think it's really shitty to use AI to do like things that artists can do. That's all. Do I think that humans should be working menial tasks that could put their lives at danger when we could just have robots doing it all? Yeah, I think that'd be cool to like minimize less human risk of life by utilizing robots and things that will minimize death and tragedy in people's lives. I think that's a great idea. Do I think robots should decide like, hey, we're going to make this art now. You guys don't need to do it. No, because art... Oh my gosh, I think I could go on a rant about this for days, so I'm going to wrap it up here. AI replacing artists is the only place where I will riot, okay? We all need to create. It is a literal human instinct to create. If you are depressed, if you are stressed, if you are like, holy shit, life cannot get any worse, create something. whether it's a doodle, whether it's a paper airplane, whether it's a ball of clay, whether you go into the mud or you take some water and put it on the soil, mix it into a mud ball, and then you create some mud ball, you have created something. Humans yearn for creation, whether it's creation of life through, sexual union. A lot of people do that without the intention of creation of life, and then it surprises them, and bam, you've got a baby to care for now. You created something. Congrats. People yearn to create a business. They have passion projects. They have so many things living in their human souls, and it's not fair for them not to create, right? So no matter what, humans need to create. So when you take that away through AI, it's like, okay, that kind of sucks. But I get it. I get why people want to generate images and visualize things that they can't do in their own head. If I didn't have a visual brain that could visualize and hallucinate all day long, I would probably want to create images out of thin air too, okay? But I'm not judging these people who use AI. And I did say create a shitty graphic for the YouTube video or YouTube channel nobody asked you to start. It's because I have a background in podcasting, okay? I've worked in media since 2014. I've been an entrepreneur in sports media and just media in general since 2014. It's taken me this long to figure out that there's so many things that we can push forward in life and that we can choose to continue the narrative. And there's so many things that we can keep alive by repeating the same narratives to ourselves over and over again. And being afraid of technology is not the move. I know that I use AI on a daily basis without meaning to. I know because I use Canva, I use Spotify, my cultivated playlist, the day list on Spotify, of course it's AI. I know that there's AI usage in every single form of our life at this point. And there has been for years. My mother worked in tech. She was one of the first women in IT in Sprint here in Kansas City, where they had their world headquarters. I don't even know, does Sprint still exist anymore? I don't know. I don't think so. I think T-Mobile bought them. I don't pay attention. But there's a lot of people that seem to think that because technology exists that we can't exist alongside with it. I think it's where it becomes its own conscious being that could be a problem. If I'm nice to everyone until they give me a reason not to be. So I don't think I'd have a problem with the robots. I would be the one bumping into a robot being, oh, excuse me, sir. That's just my Midwestern upbringing and the etiquette school that I was forced to go to 2 summers in a row. Thanks, Mom. But all the things that I know in life come down from my human exploration, from conversations with people, from telling people your story is needed. So if there's something that I can tell you about all of the things happening in this world, it is finding yourself is more important than ever. So if you could do yourself a favor this year, the new solar year is coming up on March 20th. So if you guys are looking forward to fresh start, I am, because it's also my birthday. March 22nd is my birthday. So every year around the spring equinox, I get to celebrate that my parents had me during summer solstice. Oh, that's so cute. In Scandinavian countries, it's kind of funny because March 22nd is the most common birthday, as everyone celebrates the summer solstice in Scandinavian countries quite heavily. These are things I learned from watching Apple TV. You're welcome, everybody. But yeah, so let's get to the reason that we're here today. We are here today to talk about the 0 degrees in the Sabian Symbols. And yeah, I'll just make a mental note that it took me 25 minutes to get to what I was talking about, which isn't a really, long time. If you guys have been around for any of my streams, you know that these things can just fucking go for hours. So who knows what'll happen. Because of who I am as a person, I have the Degree Theory book by Nikola Stojanovic. Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm going to butcher these last names. My Pisces Mercury is so fun that it also happens to square my Gemini moon. And I had a speech impediment for so long growing up until I was about 8 or 9 years old. And I couldn't say R, S, L, or T. Kind of hard when your name is Gracey Terrell. So I do my best with these names. But Nikola unfortunately passed away in 2020. So this book is what we have of his work, and of course his website and blog as well. So these are things that I definitely cherish, because there is not a ton in here about the 0 degree by definition, right? But Nikola says that he kind of realized what this 0 degree was all about when this bombing happened, which is very Serbian of him to be like, okay, hold on, I figured it all out. This massive catastrophic incident happened, and it rattled me into revelations. Like that's just incredible. The 0th degree symbolizes the emphasized essential features of each sign. So I will go a step even further, right? Because not only do I love degree theory and do I love the things that make astrology a little bit more layered and more of not so much a gimmicky party trick, right? I like to look at astrology like, oh my gosh, this is so layered. This is so fantastic. How deep does this person want me to go? Because that will answer all my questions. If I know that this person is like, hey, I want to know everything. I also want to know about my parents, and I want to know about my lineage, and I want to know about the things that were rough for me. Tell me all the things that you see in my chart. And crazy enough, you can do that even more specifically with degree theory and also, the Sabian symbols. So when I am mostly looking at like the like charts that come along my way, or I stumble across them, it's always fun. I have made a comprehensive list of all the different 0 degree suns, which is really fun, but then it ended up because I can't just do anything like normal, right? I can't do these collections of research in a normal way. I do everything like, oh, did we want to look at the stars? Oh, do you want to see 0 degree suns and what those are like? Why don't you make 0 degree moons? Why don't you make 0 degree Mercuries? Why don't you make a whole book on all the different charts and sell it? And I'm like, where is this coming from? And then it's like, oh yeah, that's my brain. That's how my brain works. I haven't been selling a lot, right? I've been giving almost all of my astrology guidebooks and everything away for free. The only thing that I've really put out for purchase is the Astrology of 2025 collaboration book I did with Alessia, Amanda, and Jamal. So I really loved that project. It was fun to learn about collaborations and all that. But yeah, don't worry. I've got my stars by degrees, and there's just pages and pages of lists. But I wanted to go through them all and actually kind of talk about these people in ways that I could just give you examples, and you can kind of see that. But Nikola talked a lot about the degrees and left off on the degree theory where 29 degrees is the last one in the degrees where there's a ruler. So it starts out at 1 degrees, and that is the Aries degree. And then it starts 2 degrees, that's Taurus, 3 degrees, Gemini. And it goes like that through the degrees. And then at 12, which is Pisces, then it goes back to 13, then it's Aries again. So all these degrees of astrology, 0 through 29 or 1 through 29 are all ruled by something, right? We have this 0 degree, and this 0 degree is technically, since 29 is ruled by Leo, right? The 30th degree coming after that should be Virgo. I agree with this. Okay. So if we're going by the natural order of progression, would we start back over? No, because like going to 29 and then 30 is going to be Aries after Leo. That makes no sense. So we got to start with Aries with that 1 degree, and then with Virgo, which is kind of, you go through Aries to Virgo. That's the first half of the season. Then when you start with Libra season, that's the second half of the season. So it kind of makes sense, right? So 0 degrees in degree theory. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and finish up where Nikola stopped, I guess. He was halted by greater forces than he could really deal with. So there are so many different ways that we can look at the 0 degree being ruled by Virgo. But the most literal one, and, if you're a little bit squeamish about this, too bad. 0 degrees. 0 is the giant circle. And if you know anything about the sign Virgo, Virgo is the virgin. in astrology. Virgin does not mean free of sex. Virgin came to mean that much later, where purity was treasured and all of that. And of course, saving yourself from marriage and all that has been in many a culture since many years ago. It's not anything unusual or new, and it's not like it just started when the word virgin started to mean pure of any sort of, dirtiness. And it's like, oh, this unclean woman, she's not a virgin. And so that's kind of like where it kind of came up from. It also became a thing during the ruling class years of these aristocracies and everything else, being a virgin at marriage. We're all virgins at birth. Hello. But the virgin birth story in the Bible, of course, being born of a Virgo. I have a lot of theories about that. This is not the time or place, but the 0 in astrology looking like the womb that we all enter or that we all come out of, and the womb that we go back to, the watery womb of the grave, is very much that we enter that womb in the death stages. So the circle, it looks to me like the birth canal, very much virgin type of energy, because that is where, you're looking through a very small hole to see the hymen. If we're going to be specific, it is what it is. Deal with the fact that we are adults here and can talk about these things. But it's just very symbolic of Virgo energy. And to have that all-encompassing circle and to have the start and the beginning at the birth canal or at the womb does feel very much what this energy is all about. So the 0 degree in degree theory is ruled by Virgo. So if you have any 0 degree placements, these can be very poignant. They can be highly intuitive. The thing that we forget about Virgo is this like direct connection to Mercury, right? This insanely quick connection from brain to gut, and you can feel it almost instantly. Like someone comes in your circle and like shows up in your bubble, because look, we're all galaxies, right? That's kind of like where I feel like I could go on a TED Talk and tell people to obstruct each other is to go against each other. That Marcus Aurelius quote. Oh my God. I know I'm just now getting back to that from like 40 minutes ago when I said it. But to obstruct each other, to go against each other is unnatural. It's like the two sets of teeth, upper and lower, working together. That's what we're all supposed to be as humans. We're all supposed to work together. We're all supposed to be in this harmonious state where we are not fighting each other for basic resources. But because we've gotten so far from what that would be like, we can get to this scarcity mentality. We can get to this place where we don't trust each other, and it's all very rushed and very like chaotic. But the 0 degree shows up as that galaxy kind of mentality. It's our own part. It's our own start. It's our own beginning. It's the ending and the beginning of a sign. It's the ending of one sign and the beginning of another, even the 0 point of Aries. So let's get started on that. We are going to be looking at the Sabian Symbols today through the lens of the book 360 Degrees of Wisdom. This is my copy of it. Okay, this is the one that I use. This is the one that all my notes are in. I dropped it naturally. I'm like, let me just go ahead and completely drop this thing like it doesn't have enough problems. There we go. Okay, I got it. It's already, see, this is why it's all beat up. I have a unique relationship, we should say. But some of these, you can see my notes in them. I know that there's like little quips in here that I have and little observations from people. But the version of this that you would be buying looks like this, right? Yeah, like I have a nice brand new copy. You don't need a crowdfund to get me a copy. I don't need anything like that. I can get my own. I'm good. I just don't like using it because it's too nice, it's too new, and it's too perfect. Thanks, Lynda. But this beautiful book shows us, degree by degree of the zodiac, and it's incredible. Each and every degree in the zodiac has this massive symbolic background to it. And people have been, trying to tweak the Sabian symbols since they came out in 1925, including Mark Edmund Jones, the Sabian Assembly founder, as well as the one that had the idea to use Elsie Wheeler to channel all these symbols. So there's a lot. People have been trying to say, we know how to do this better. We know how to do this more. Our intuition and our symbols will be more accurate. This is where you guys are wrong. Blah, 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 blah. Like, how many fucking symbols do we need? The answer is thousands, right? This goes back to ancient times. It's not just 1925. Before the Sabian symbols were put into their modern state by Elsie Wheeler, there were ancient astrologers for very long ago. We're talking thousands of years ago that have been using each and every degree of the zodiac as some sort of symbol. They were a lot more gruesome back in the day. They were like talking about demons and haunted people and all these things that live within us and all these tragic outcomes, all these horrifying things. But the good news is there's still those in the modern Sabian symbols, okay? Like one of the degrees that I know for a fact is a very, very powerful degree in the Sabian symbols is 5 degrees Cancer. It is represented by, at a railroad crossing, an automobile is wrecked by a train. That's very intense, but this is also a degree of a lot of car crashes and a lot of people that have had horrible fatal incidents with cars, as well as people who are so revolutionary. It's like a bomb goes off in society and all people can do is talk about that, focus on that, worry about the next one, what's going to happen next. It's like these people are so radical with their energy that they are burst, right? They come off as these bursts of explosive energy, and that's part of that degree. So once again, this is the book that if you buy the 360 Degrees of Wisdom from SabianSymbols.com from Lynda Hill, this is what you will get. I promise you, if you buy a book from Lynda, this is not what it's going to look like. This is just what my books look like. And not all of my books that I use and read look all screwed up, right? Like I have plenty of other books. Like here's one that's in great shape. It's my Eclipses by Derek Appleby and Maurice McCann. I can show you the one that I have saved for today. It is the list of the solar and lunar eclipses and the different decans and what that means. So in general, they just break down the first decan, which is a group of 10 degrees. So 1 to 10, 0 to 10, 11 to 20, and then 21 to 30 is the decans. I'm pretty sure. I don't work with them. I work with the specific degrees. So it's like, these are kind of just like things that I'm learning about. When you work with Sabian symbols and degree theory, like decans of like, okay, and they do give a flavor to things, but it's not like something that can truly microscopically fine tooth pick through things. But they are very accurate and they do give a really grand scope of especially eclipse themes. So they're not always accurate, but they do seem to be pretty spot on. So I did share it on Twitter or X if that's what you're looking for. But lunar second decan Virgo eclipse is scandals affecting professional men and great criticism of their oppression, bribery, and indirect dealings. I don't really have to be a political expert to tell you that that is very loudly in the cards and in the vibes for modern day politics. So we're not really too surprised by that. So we can move back to Sabian symbols. I did already mention the eclipse degrees by Sabian Symbols, and not for this one though, but I did. Yeah, in my eclipse tweet just now. So it's on my profile on X if that's where you're watching. Thank you. You guys should all leave a little comment because I don't know if you can on X. I can't remember because I haven't watched a live stream on there in a while. There are all the degrees in this book, and they kind of give a breakdown of how to read them. The first degree that we look at of each and every placement is going to be the exact degree. The only problem is with 0 degrees in the Sabian symbols, you're like, well, there's no Sabian symbol for 0 degrees. There's a 30th degree and a 1st degree. So which one is right? Well, one of the things, and I get why people don't work with the Sabian symbols a lot, because it is kind of hard. I guess when I'm explaining this, I'm like, I guess what I do is kind of specific and extremely detailed and difficult to kind of copy. So, it can be your own lifelong journey, or it could be just a few weeks. You're really into the deep dive of Sabian symbols. I thought it was only going to be a few weeks for me, and it turned out to be a lifelong thing. So go figure. But when you're looking at these, looking at your chart, we're talked about how people are their own galaxies. Each of us has the entire solar system in our birth chart, right? So each of us are like these little tiny galaxies. And to treat other people like their own galaxy, you're not going to have the same viewpoints. You're not going to share the same values. You're not going to have the same upbringing. You're not going to have the same friend groups. You're not going to have the same opinions. You're not going to have the same style. You're not going to have the same taste. Like, I don't care about the people in my life's opinions on things as long as they are not detrimental and obtuse or ignorant to the world, right? Everyone in my life that I love respects others, loves others, and makes sure that they show that. And if they don't, they're really gracious because they're just trying to do their best, right? I'm only saying that because I think that we can all have different viewpoints and yet still get along and respect each other. We can all have different opinions and yet still respect each other enough to be like, cool, I'm glad that you view that. Like, I don't block. Look, this is the one thing that's very true. I do not block people over differing opinions. I block people over extremely ignorant comments, extremely ignorant viewpoints, hatred thrown towards me or towards people I love. And that's it. Like, if you say something stupid and that's incredibly wrong, that's on you. That's not coming back to me. Why would I care what you say? I used to care. I used to try to police astrology, and that's where I think things went wrong for me. So I've decided to find my own lane, and that lane is the Gracey lane, and I can talk about whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want, and that's exactly what I want to do today. So, it's just like, you got to find what you're doing because this doesn't work for everyone. For each degree that you look at in the Sabian symbols, you have to look at 2 other degrees, right? So the exact degree is known as the karmic degree. It's the karmic condition we were born into. It's the karmic condition of that placement in your chart. So, for example, my rising, which is 17 degrees Cancer, the karmic degree is 17 degrees. We go to the truth degree, which is the rounded up degree, and that's more the truth and the illumination of this placement. And you can find out more clues about that through the Sabian symbols. Then you go to the quest, which is what Lynda Hill calls it, or to me, it's the solution degree. And that would be 19 degrees Cancer. And that is going to be the degree that I find some sort of answer to parts of myself. So if you are looking at understanding the Sabian symbols and you don't know where to start, oh no, I don't know where my other notebook is. My other guidebook is on my website. It's a free guidebook to how to use the Sabian symbols. It breaks down everything, right? So we are going to get started. All right, almost an hour into it, and I'm finally getting started. This is going to be really good, you guys. Once I get started on these, I'm not going to slow down. So we got to start at the 0 point in astrology, and that is known as 0 degrees Aries. That is where everything starts and begins each year. So as you all know, Saturn and Neptune. I don't think you could not know at this point, if you follow astrology, that Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, because I think everyone, including myself, has covered it so much. These are new times in life. These are times where we get to rewrite outdated narratives. We get to blaze new trails. We get to start new paths, and we don't get to be stuck in the past anymore. Like, a lot of Pisces energy and a lot of Pisces in the last degrees is about these death degrees: death to the ego, death to the self, death to the known, and then welcoming in the known, and welcoming in the unknown, and welcoming in this new path, and welcoming in this new energy. So having both Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees Aries was kind of confusing, because a lot of people are like, wait, so what is this Sabian symbol? But in order to start at the very beginning, we have to go back to the very end. So in order to look at any 0 degree placement in the zodiac via the Sabian symbols, you must look at the degree ahead, right? You have to look at that one. And that's like the one that we always know. It's like this rounded up one. But looking at the exact degree does tell you a lot. So 0 degrees Aries, the first degree we look at is the karmic condition, and that would be Pisces 30 degrees. So if you have a 0 degree placement in your chart, That means you go to the 30th degree of the sign prior. So for Aries, 0 degrees, we go to Pisces, 30 degrees. And as you can tell from just the tiny little font on the screen, if you can't read it, I'll go ahead and read it to you. This degree, Pisces 30 degrees, is represented by a majestic rock formation resembling a face is idealized by a boy who takes it as his ideal of greatness. As he grows up, he begins to look like it. Pretty powerful imagery there, and not one that I feel like fits on a flashcard very easily. So for that one to be the very last degree of the zodiac and also the very first degree at the same time is pretty powerful. This is where we see the human plight, if you will. The 0 degree of Aries is all about the ending and beginning, right? It's the point that the Ouroboros of things, if you are into that, you can kind of relate this back to this energy of like all encompassing, like Nicola from Degree Theory said. And it can be this all kind of like purposeful placement where it fuses these things together. So Pisces, this majestic rock formation and this ideal form, what we idealize and what we look up to in life, or what we are surrounded by the most, ends up becoming a large part of our adult personality. And it's the nature versus nurture argument, you know, your environment versus your genetics and all the things that make you who you are. Yet the zodiac is very much about that. So the zodiac likes to talk about these 12 different chapters of the hero's journey, of the life cycle. If we were to see our life cut into 12 different segments where it's the Aries portion of our life, it's the Taurus portion of our life, whatever it is, all of those parts would just go to show us that we have it all within us at all times. So every part of the cosmos and the external that you see is within your body through trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions upon trillions of cells. So everything external is also internal, is the way I look at it. So we are the world in human form. We are our own little worlds. And what we idolize and what we look up to, we eventually become. I think it was pretty obvious during the first part of my life that I idealized my father quite a bit. He is an entrepreneur and has been a rambunctious character as well as a well-known and well-respected athlete in the Kansas City and just, you know, rugby community in general. He's been quite the force over the years. Now it is my job to take care of him full time. So I get to see how he's still mentally strong, but then that physical part of how we just all end up aging has been very much catching up with him. So I get the privilege of getting him a little bit stronger and a little bit more capable of being, you know, older and existing still on his own. This 30th degree kind of looks at these people like, wow, this is what I want to be when I grow up, or wow, this is this person that I really want to look up to. And then we slowly start to adapt their characterizations, whether we want to or not. This degree is all about these people that we put in our lives on pedestals, perhaps. Nobody really, I think, wants to be idolizing a person that's not a truly good person, but we don't know any better a lot of the times. These are also these images of ourselves that we see through others. And that's what this degree is all about too. So the 0 degree of Aries starts with this Pisces 30 degree. That's very much about what you see and what you look up to is what you slowly become. And that's letting us know that that's a really huge pattern in life. The truth degree, or the actual degree, would be 1 degrees Aries. And that is represented by a woman has risen out of the ocean. A seal is embracing her. And this is very much about this birth through that 0 degree birth canal. We have come out of that. We are out of the waters, or the watery whatever we are born into. And for me, this is how I was actually born. I was actually born around the 0 part of Aries. So my 2 degree, 18-minute sun in Aries is very much close to this part. So it's like I live this, I feel like naturally I have had my whole life. My MC is at 29 degrees Pisces, in case you're wondering. So I'm very familiar with this area of the zodiac, which is a great place to start, because why not start with the place that you're really familiar? The part of the zodiac that 1 degrees Aries is really kicking off is all these other aspects to the other 1 degree placements. And so all these 0 degree things are doing the exact same thing. They all work together. They're all these little connecting points. They're all these little zenith points, if you will. If you work with astrocartography, you know the zenith points in astrocartography are where the energy strengthens the most. So these are all these little zenith points within our chart. And they all pop off in different places. Like my chart, like I said, starts at 17 degrees Cancer. My MC is at 29 degrees Pisces because I have my 4th and 10th house intercepted. There's a lot of layers of things that you'll learn along the way. And if none of this makes sense to you, maybe study a little bit more of astrology and you'll find it when you're supposed to. So I appreciate you being here nonetheless, and really appreciate all the support that I'm getting through all my degree work. So once again, we have that 30th degree. Then we have the 1st degree of Aries. A woman has risen out of the ocean. A seal is embracing her. And then we have the solution degree of this degree of 0 degrees Aries. And that is a comedian entertaining a group of friends. I did mention this 0 point in or on my Twitter platform because the fear-mongering New York Post was deciding to share things like Saturn and Neptune link up in Aries. Fiery revelations of hell awaits us. And it's like, bro, I don't have the energy these days. Like, I'm too busy taking care of everything around me, learning how to make delicious meals and cook for my family and run a household and do all the things. I'm not going to fucking fight with you. I just can't do it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, the world's not ending. For some people, they're in the state of the last days and the revelations all the time anyway. They're always hearing the 7 trumpets. Something terrible is always about to come down. I don't subscribe to that type of negativity in my life. I am a Saturn dominant person. I already have enough negativity in my life, right? So when I saw the New York Post talking about how this 0 degree placement is this like, scary death, destruction. Of course, it's war, it's famine, it's all the scary things that we're warned about, because astrology, yes, includes the scary stuff too. I'm fully aware of that. Do I want to be the astrologer that has thousands of followers waiting for me to predict the next war? No. So I don't talk about predicting the next war. Do I want to be an astrologer that hangs on the downfall of others so I can be like, see, I got you. I was right. I predicted it. No, I like to be the astrologer that opens people's minds to the possibility that the cosmos might have an impact on us little humans, right? That's it. And if you can come that way with me and find an open-minded part of yourself and explore your birth chart and give yourself a chance to really get to know thyself through astrology, you're going to have a great time. I'm always going to give more lighthearted, positive examples than not. I've been heavy and dark my whole life. I'm removing that from my life. I don't feel the need to carry that weight anymore. There are so many people that bear the torch of guiding others through shadows, guiding others through darkness. One of my favorite people to work with in the energetic and spiritual world is my editor, Mariah, because she does transmute the heaviness and dark energy so well, because she is so grounded in Gaia Sophia, as well as her practice with the goddess and helping others ground through free ways. Once again, you don't have to go to that weird retreat with a woman in costume dancing around in a circle asking you for a small donation of $10,000. You can be spiritual in your backyard. You can be spiritual on your apartment balcony. You can be spiritual on a crowded sidewalk. You can be spiritual at the DMV. You can be spiritual anywhere for free, okay? So the biggest gimmick in the world is that you have to pay for anything. Look, books are going to cost shit, okay? I can't stop that. If you want to learn a lot, books are going to cost money, or you can find an online PDF book club, and hopefully they can provide you with some like free resources. A lot of astrologers will provide you with some insight or list of book recommendations if you go on their websites. And there's a lot of stuff free. Like, don't just use these little bot things to tell you about your astrology chart. Try talking to a real human. I mean, look, I get it. As someone that has tried to be in the astrology community and also tried to assimilate to the way of the astrology community. I can't tell you how many times I was like, well, maybe I'll just try this and see if it works. And I've just kind of been doing that ever since. I started a magazine out of thin air 2 years ago this month. I got so fed up with being slowed down, I rage quit whatever I was doing and said, I'm going to build this myself. So I did. And that's that powerhouse kind of energy that I live with my sun at the 2 degree of Aries. I will say that the 0 degree, a lot of people talk about the 0 degree of being this like placement of like a second coming of a Christ, or like some sort of like spiritual figure that would have placements around this. I can tell you for a fact, people with the sun or placements at 0 degrees Aries have no fucking interest in being your savior. Okay. They don't. They have no interest in that. Let me give you some examples of people with their sun in 0 degrees Aries. Chester Bennington, R.I.P., William Shatner, Rosie O'Donnell, Matthew Broderick, and then the country Jordan has a 0 degree Aries sun too. So those are the 0 degree Aries suns that I have in pop culture, or their confirmed birth times, whatever. Because the 0 degrees is kind of finicky. You do have to have a proper birth time to know if something is 29 degrees or 0 degree or whatever. So this group of the 0 point, we talked about how that Saturn and Neptune and Aries thing. Should probably drink some water, let's be honest. Saturn and Neptune and Aries at that 0 degree, the 0 point, does sound a little bit scary. It's very prophetic, but like there's always going to be people, like I said, living in end times. There's always going to be people saying, we're all dying. This is the end of it. It's what you choose to believe. It's what you choose to live into. It's what you choose to honor in your life. I look to this 0 point of Aries as a chance to move forward. The woman rising out of the ocean is a beautiful representation of coming from the watery depths that we all enter the world through the birth canal of a woman. That is something that we can't argue about. We all have been given birth to by a woman. I think there's only a few artificial wombs that have been out there, but they all pass through woman, or even test tube babies, woman. And then we get greeted by another, whether it's a symbolic thing like a seal embracing this woman rising out of the ocean, or it's our caregivers or the people in our life that turn to embrace us. And only in the harshest, most unfair of life situations are these creatures or babies being born into situations where there is no one to embrace them. And that can be kind of the downside of this 1 degree Aries, is that if you don't have that person, then you have to become that person that embraces yourself. I had 2 very loving parents growing up. I had, they were loving in their own way. They were chaotic together. They separated and kind of left me as an only child to kind of figure it all out on my own. I was raised by grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins having a lot to do with my life. So I've had a lot of family. I've had a lot of big family. Was I embraced by all of them? No. I could say that very wholeheartedly, that there are many times in my life that the biggest haters for me were my closest family. So this is, remember, any degree of Aries sun is going to be an exalted placement. Aries is where the sun exalts. The home of the sun is Leo, and that's where it rules over naturally. The sun is like, Leo is my bae. Aries is where I have the most energy, right? That's kind of how I look at exalted planets. But my Aries sun is ruled by my Capricorn Mars. It's a lot. It's definitely an elevated approach. So I do use comedy a lot in my life. That is the karmic degree of my sun. So I don't have my sun at this 0 degree point, but we all have this kind of like, I guess, morbidity in our lives. We all have the ability to make light of death. We all have the ability to take back the power of sadness and turn it into regenerative laughter. You know, even at the countless funerals I have been to and the countless memorial services of family and friends that I've lost over the years, we always come back to laughter. and through the remembering of our people that we've lost. Through happier times, we do have those memories that tend to stick with us more. I just want to reassure people, if you're worried about this, most, like I would say, most of the time when you work with a medium or a psychic, you do not hear those negative relationship traits coming through. People aren't like, well, you stole my hairbrush in the 3rd grade and I can never forgive you. I had a friend that passed away my summer of 7th grade year going into 8th grade. And I had basically liked the same guy, but the guy liked her and didn't like me. So I was like, that sucks. She sucks. And we also played basketball against each other, right? So I had just kind of had this whatever, she's competition kind of vibe. That summer, she passed away from a genetic heart failure thing that her passing ended up saving her sister's lives, right? And it was this a tragic, horrible thing. I'd never experienced death before that. But when she came through in a reading one time, I remember the one thing that she would always tell me, because I was the first person in my school to get Nike Shocks. Those were the coolest thing. They had this cool marketing program, this marketing ploy to get people to buy them. And it was the marketing was boing. That was the only thing it said. And it was just talking about how you can have the most height and these are the best shoes because you can jump real high and the future of sports. All I got from those were rolled ankles. Okay. So, she would always compliment she should always be nice shoes. And I remember the memory of her walking down the hall, and I can see it to this day. And she's walking towards me. She goes, "Hey, nice shoes." I'm like, "Thanks." And that was a nice moment, because before I was and when she died, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I had any sort of ill feelings towards this person. She was such a pure heart. But it's learning about that early on was a harsh lesson, and it was really hard to process for my brain. I just didn't understand how someone that I saw all the time could be gone like that. And I was at summer camp with 2 of her friends, and we were at a summer camp hundreds of miles away from where I lived. So I'm like, how the hell did I find 2 classmates from the same school I go to, of all the places? And they were really close with her, so they ended up going back for the funeral. But it was a really sad time. And this specific degree of the zodiac, 0 degrees Aries, if you have placements around there within 5 degrees of this, chances are you have experienced a lot of loss in your life. You have experienced the painfulness that is grief, that is the loss of connection. You can't just call this person anymore or reach out. So yeah, it's very, very, very life and death themed. So it's very much about this all-encompassing energy of seeing this ideal with the 30 degrees Pisces, and you see this ideal and you live your whole life thinking that you need to be this ideal, and then you slowly one day come to the realization that you are that person already. I looked up to my dad, and then I ended up becoming a sports radio host, which he could never be because of his stuttering. And I'm now this speech impediment kid that gets paid to talk for a living. That was the ultimate, I fucking did it. But once I'd accomplished that, I lost all interest in talking about sports full time. Once I got there, I was like, this isn't really for me. I started getting more and more into synchronicities and signs, and I kept getting all these signs that were pushing me away from the sports media side of things, including my Saturn return. And that happens to be a later theme for another day, because we're getting into the 0 degree of Taurus. So let's jump into that one. For that, once again, we are going to be looking at the final degree of Aries, that 30th degree of Aries. And then we're going to be looking at the 1 degree of Taurus, and then the 2 degree of Taurus. Okay. So a duck pond and its young brood is what is represented by 30 degrees Aries. So this is technically the 0 degrees, the exact degree of 0 degrees Taurus. A duck pond and its young brood can indicate issues of belonging to a family, clan, or tribe. The duck pond is a place where family can live, forage for food, gather life's necessities, and be safely together. Once again, I'm reading from the 360 Degrees of Wisdom by Lynda Hill. If you want the prettier, cleaner looking copy, this is one. So this degree is all about your place in life, your home life, your situation. 0 degrees Taurus is like finding your voice within that. Duck pond and its young brood, it's your family, it's your upbringing, it's your environment, it's your ecosystem, it's all of that. It's your family tree. It can be whatever you want it to be. It's all about you're realizing your limitations within that dynamic. A lot of us don't realize that we are limited to the roles that we play in family dynamics sometimes only by the limitization of our own minds. We might see ourselves in a role like, oh, I'm the black sheep of the family, so I can't do this, or oh, I'm this of the family, so I can't do this. I get it. As someone that was, I have a Pisces stellium, so I can play the victim of anything. I can be like, oh, well, clearly they hate me because if they loved me, they would do this. Stop it, Gracey. Get some help. That's what I needed to say to myself for most of my 20s, but hey, figured it out in my 30s. That's all that matters. Knowing that that's the case with a lot of the 12th house kind of placements. If you have 0 degrees Taurus in your 12th house, it can feel like you are a little bit ostracized or different from your family in some way, and it can be a lot. So zero judgment there. Of course, there's going to be times where 0 degrees Taurus is all about the celebration of family. And so that 30th degree of Aries is the 0th degree of Taurus. If you are just tuning in, we're talking about the 0 degrees of astrology through the Sabian symbols. And this is going to be where I start my series. I'm going to go through every degree. We're going from 0 to 29. Okay. Which is a small task in itself. It's just 360 degrees of the zodiac I'm going to talk about over time. But this is something that I can do throughout the times that I'm not on camera for football season. This coming football season is going to be fun. I am excited about that. So I can talk about that and refresh my lip gloss. Shout out to Morphe. I love you. I say that so casually, but I do. I love Morphe makeup. It's amazing. Okay, so duck pond is young brood. This is also where you can develop your quintessential kind of like putting your own needs behind and like focusing on others. This is a very distracted degree. You can very much get lost in the familial sauce, so to speak. Excuse me. I'm jumping around with my microphone. This 0 point is going to be around the 19th, 20th of April every year. This is also where a very violent part of the zodiac happens, right? The 29th degree of Aries is the music of the spheres degree. It's this very intense, anoretic degree. Of course, that's a Leo degree, Leo ruled degree. So the 29th degree is always this huge boosh of energy. Whereas the 0 degree is it's like, okay, let's come back down and let's regroup. So 30 degrees Aries, a duck pond and its young brood. Then going into the 1 degree Taurus, that is a clear mountain stream flows steadily downstream. So a little bit of a stark difference, right? We have this duck pond and its young brood and it's contained. Like a pond is contained water. There's a full boundary and barrier around this pond, defining its boundaries and limits. So with that being said, we now go and jump into the Aries rule degree. That 1 degree is Taurus. And of course, it's like action, movement. A clear mountain stream flows steadily downstream. This is about pure sources, pure vocalizations, finding that voice. A lot of people might have some timid energy with 0 degrees Taurus, but the truth to it is that 1 degrees Taurus, okay? It's going to be the, you set a course, you choose a path, you stick to that mentality, you set a goal, you have the plans all laid out, and there's discipline all laid out for these things to all matriculate downstream, right? So it's about flowing, it's about knowing your source, and it's about going with the flow. And that could be from your mindset, with that 0 degrees being like the all-encompassing part of it. But between Aries and Taurus, it's a bridge from Mars to Venus, right? So Mars and Venus don't exactly connect, and then it's just like chill, right? It's very much what comes from this. So the 0 degree is the karmic, the 1 degree is the truth, and then the 2 degree is going to be the solution degree or the way out. This is a powerful one. 2 degrees Taurus is an electrical storm, illuminates the heavens and the forest. When I say The 0 degrees is not the one to look for powerful, swift action. I mean it. It's always going to be the 2 degree or the 1 degree. Those are going to be the degrees that actually take you out of that all-encompassing, hugely layered bridge between worlds, the bridge of Mars and Venus, right? We're looking at with Aries 0 point, we had the bridge of Jupiter with Pisces and Mars. And Jupiter and Mars are kind of like, Jupiter's like, look, I know that you're a little bit feisty. I move with a little bit more grandeur. I have a little bit more presence, and things take a little bit longer with me. With Mars, it's like, bam, you ready to go? You ready to jump in there? So going from dreamy and ethereal Jupiter ruled Pisces to being in Mars ruled Aries is quite the jump. So going from Mars ruled Aries into Taurus at that 0 degree is going to be quite the jump too. So the electrical storm illuminates the heavens and the forest. This to me is like the sudden storm of God. God does not have to mean an old white man in the sky. I like to think of God as the goddess and Godhead, the Alpha and the Omega. 2 always becomes 1, right? We always get down to the 1. There can't be none, because that means nothing's here and nothing's ruling over us, and that doesn't make any sense. I respect you, atheists. I have to very strongly disagree that there is nothing higher than us ruling over things, right? Sorry, it's not going to happen. This 2 degree of Taurus also happens to square the 2 degree of Aquarius, which is an unexpected thunderstorm. So these 2 degrees are very, very powerful. They have a ton of motion and a ton of energy. So whenever people are like, oh, the 0 degree, it's just so, you're just stuck and it's all overwhelming. It's like, grow up. Go to the next degree, then go to the one after that. And then guess what? You're going to find out even more and then keep going. Then go to the opposing one, go to the squaring one. Like I said, a lot of people don't do what I do because it's so layered. You have to look at 3 degrees to understand 1 degree. You have to look at the squares to that degree to understand how things progress. You have to look at the oppositions to understand the shadow side of those degrees. And you have to look at the other square to know what's possible. Then you look at those and you're like, oh, okay, this is what it all balances out to. It is a lot. I charge a lot of money for my readings too. I think $300, $400 is a lot of money for most people in this day and age. So yeah, I know I charge a lot of money, but it's a lot of work. And especially if you do the written reports with me, I have them to be like 30 or 40 pages. And it's like something that you could actually print out and make into your own. So, very, very fun to have, just knowing that I have all these abilities to like truly dive to the deepest level possible with something. And trust me, when you work with me as an astrology client, especially if you're one of my friends that end up being clients, I will go to the nth degree to look up whatever it is that's bothering a certain situation, and I will go and find the thing that needs to be fixed right away. And it's kind of uncanny. It's part of what I'm figuring out is my psychic abilities too. And they're spearheaded by seeing these astrology charts, right? That's why I don't have examples up. If I had examples up of every single person's chart that I could talk about that have these placements of 0 degree suns, we'd be up here for days because I would just talk about them and never get anything done. So the fact that we're already on the 2nd degree and it's not just the Aries one for 200 years is pretty impressive. So if you want to talk about 0 degree Taurus suns that have this duck pond, figuring out where they fit into life, and then flowing into life with a clear mountain stream flowing downstream. And then that electrical storm illuminates the heavens and forests. It's like a huge change, a sudden change, very Uranian. But this is also about chaos that can be in the brain. It's also things changing quickly, things just being really, really sudden. So people with suns at this degree, this is a crazy fucking group, by the way. Jessica Lange, incredible actress. I love her in all of the American stories that she's ever done, horror stories and the feud stories, and her relationship with Ryan Murphy has to be crazy and amazing. 0 degree Taurus sun, Jessica Lange. I'm only laughing because the next 2. Jessica Lange, Adolf Hitler, Queen Elizabeth II, Carmen Electra, and Tony Danza. I'm sorry, I can't help it. That's a hell of a fucking group. Zero degree Taurus suns are a fucking force of nature. Sometimes for the great and sometimes for the not so great. There's so much about the power of 0 degrees Taurus that the 2 degree is the loudest part of that concoction. So if you ever see a 0 degree placement in somebody's chart, know that they are a force to be reckoned with, but it's only when they figure this out for themselves. A lot of people might not figure it out right away, but when they do, it's like, oh, I could have been doing this all along. I could have been using these powers for good all this time. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of astrology. So with that being said, I think that the clear part of the 0 degree of Taurus is learning where you fit in, learning how to find your voice, finding that voice, and maybe using that voice as a powerful electrical current of some sort, a powerful electrical storm raining through the heavens in the forest. Like, that's kind of an intense symbol, don't you think? So that, yeah, it's all about harnessing the get in where you fit in, the learning to go with the flow, and this all-encompassing bridge between Mars and Venus. Because Mars is very action-based. Venus is very much like, well, what are you going to do for me? Yeah, I'm beautiful, and I'm sure you want to be around me, but what do I get out of this? Where is the give and take out of this relationship? Where do I, become the most valued where I go? Where is my voice heard the most? Where's my voice valued the most? Which, speaking of voices, you can't talk about voices without talking about words, right? And that's where the 0 point of Gemini comes in. So I think with the 0 point of Aries, we see the mental awakening. With the 0 degree of Taurus, we see the vocal awakening. With the 0 degree of Gemini, we see the awakening of the creativity channeled through the arms, hands, the air we breathe, and transmuting that out through whatever it is that we create, our mental processes, our mindset, how we communicate with others, our hometowns. Sometimes people with 0 degrees Gemini can be like really big in their hometown or really well known in their hometown, or they blend in well there. But going from the bridge of Mars and Venus with that 0 point of Taurus, we're now going, like I said, from the bridge from Venus to Mercury, which is a little bit different. I feel like that is more communicating your needs, talking about how you arrived at a certain point, how you might have felt about it. Going from the Mars to Venus is like the action to receiving, and then going from Venus to Mercury is like, okay, so I've received the care, I've relaxed a little bit, I've grounded. Now, how do I process this information? And that's where Mercury comes in. Mercury is the bridge between the underworld, the messenger between the gods and the earthlings. And Mercury has a very important role of communication, short distance travel, daily routine, because Mercury rules over both the 3rd house and the 6th house with Gemini and Virgo. So going into the kind of bigger picture of it all is that you have this vocal awakening, and now you have this kind of like, I don't want to say nervous system awakening, but it's something along those lines. 1 second, guys. All right, you guys are back. My amazing teenager is helping with the incredibly vocal dog today that is back in the background. So thank you again for bearing with me, your patience level. This is actually the 0 degree of Gemini is one of my favorite degrees, just mostly because we get to look at this like bridge from Venus, which is a very much an aesthetically pleasing, this grand type of royal energy, right? To me, the ending part of Taurus is very stubborn. It's very powerful, and it's very much like this, what have you built for yourself? What have you made from yourself? Do you kind of align with all the things that you set up for yourself? And the 0 degree of Gemini is one that you can't talk about without the 0 degree of Taurus, because it's like this, you start with this little duck brood and it's like a little family and you're like, okay, where do I fit in? And then you have the flowing into the like, oh shit, well, I guess I'm here already and I guess I can just kind of like blend in, and then you find your voice and then it becomes kind of this electrifying part of your personality and you can really build a lot there. But finding your voice also means finding your values, finding what you believe in and all that. So when you switch from Venus into Mercury, you're finding your voice going into finding your words, right? Because you find your voice, like we all babble before we actually speak sentences. So when you see the 0 degree of Taurus, it's very much about like, okay, found my voice. Now, what do I want to say? And that's the 0 degree of Gemini. 0 degrees of Gemini is also incredibly psychic. So if you have any placements around 0 degrees Gemini or towards the end of Taurus, this is going to be a large part of your, story of some sort. The 30th degree of Taurus is a peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle. We're talking full display of feathers. We're talking this beautiful, radiant bird just putting on this miraculous display of look who I am. And it's on this old castle, right? I can show you guys this. Okay, so you see not only the 30th degree of Taurus, but then you also see that Gemini degree over there, and that is the next degree. So you see how the degrees go from 30 to 1. There is no 0, so that can kind of help you when you're looking at this. But a peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle is so much about maintaining your grace and pride, even though what you have might not be in the best shape anymore, right? Like, it's like taking care of a 1989 Mercedes. Even in the year 2026, you're changing the oil, you're ordering the special filters, you're taking care of what you have. And it's from a place of pride. It can be a place of entitlement at times, but it's very like ego-centered attraction, very like, look at me, look at me. But we all need that at some point in our lives, right? Like, why do people feel so inadequate showing themselves off sometimes? We all have something beautiful about ourselves, whether it's our smile, whether it's our spirit, whether it's whatever it could be. We all have something beautiful about ourselves, and to show that off and to be proud of that is not necessarily a bad thing, right? It's something that can come with maybe some people think you need to tone it down. Maybe people think that you're throwing too many parades for yourself. I'm the type of person to put my own face on my magazine cover. So I'm not too worried about showing off too much, right? Clearly, I don't have that problem. But the 0 degree of Gemini embodies this, okay, show off, have pride, be graceful about it. It can be about your success and displaying and showing off a lot. The 29th degree of Taurus is two cobblers working side by side at a table, very humble, very hardworking. So the 30th degree being like, look at this, is very much it signals the shift, right? Peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle. You have this vibe of an old world, but yet still illustrious, still beautiful, still decorated kind of energy. Then we see the truth degree to this is the 1 degree of Gemini, and that is a glass bottom boat reveals undersea wonders. If you want to know some people with 0 degree Gemini suns, we can look at Jeffrey Dahmer, Naomi Campbell, the Notorious B.I.G., Ted Kaczynski, Arthur Conan Doyle. Those are all the people. Josh Allen, I thought, had a 0 degree sun, but he doesn't. The Kansas City Chiefs have a 0 degree sun. So the Kansas City Chiefs have Jeffrey Dahmer, Naomi Campbell, Ted Kaczynski all in common with their sun. But also, Biggie and Arthur Conan Doyle, which I don't think have been in the same sentence very many times throughout history. So glad I could bring that one up. But these 0 degree Gemini suns are very much the psychic, like well-known kind of placements. Like, one of the most psychic degrees in all of the zodiac is 0 degrees Gemini, and a glass bottom boat reveals undersea wonders. It's like, I don't know if you guys have ever traveled on a glass bottom boat. I don't think I have. I don't think I've been in those kayaks. I've been in a lot of boats, but I don't think it's those ones that have the ability to see what's underneath you. So haven't personally been in one of these, but I know the concept of them. You're able to see without getting wet and having to go into the ocean. It's this like barrier, and it's very aquatic. It's very deep diving kind of thing. It's huge with clairvoyance. Like, you're able to look at people and then like know their life story before they even tell you. And it's very, very eerie sometimes for people. This is also the degree of a very like dissociated, detached type of personality. So if you know people at the very beginning of Gemini, it's not them, it's the Sabian symbols. I'm just out here making excuses. But the 2 degrees Gemini, the power degree and the degree theory, and the true solution degree and the Sabian symbols is represented by a nervous gentleman dressed in an elaborate Santa Claus costume is filling Christmas stockings secretly. This is talking about the fact that these people might be dressing up in secret and giving people gifts, or doesn't want to be seen as Santa Claus. It's very much is a very interesting symbol. There's a lot of them with Christmas to do in Gemini. So this is the first one in Gemini that has to do with Christmas. But then 4 degrees Gemini is also to do with Christmas. But it's very much about giving out gifts, being the proverbial Santa Claus. Maybe you're the one in the family that goes around paying the electric and water bills so nothing gets cut off, or maybe you're the one holding it all together. Some quotes that were put into this amazing 360 degrees of wisdom book to represent this degree is, I stopped believing in Santa Claus when I was 6. Mother took me to see him in a department store and he asked for my autograph. And that was from Shirley Temple. So yeah, I guess that would be kind of a quick realization that all that glitters is not gold. This is definitely a degree of believing in things that you cannot really make sense of. I mean, the Santa Claus story in general is very much a layered story, much like everything else. Is, you know, the Saint Nicholas, and it's also the Druidic people that had all these ancient rituals with the mushroom as well. So a lot of things going into this degree, but it is all about that comfortability and the regulation of your nervous system. So the Aries 0 degree, having that huge mental surge and that mental clarity, spiritual awakenings are huge around Aries 0 degrees. Then that vocal awakening around Taurus 0 degrees. And then we have this awakening of the mind. Like, yes, Aries is very much the mind, but Aries is the birth. It's the infant. It's the rush into things first, think about things later. Gemini is the brain, the nervous system that is attached to the brain, the extensions of your nervous system, the arms, hands, lungs, and the nervous system are all medically attached to Gemini in astrology and medical astrology. So you are now regulating your nervous system with the words and the actions and the things around your environment from your small ecosystem. And then, you know, we get to a little bit further and we go into the very last degrees of Gemini, and it's not so much the it's not so much this emotional thing that you would expect out of 0 degrees Cancer, right? You expect 0 degrees Cancer and you're like, oh no, the crying degree or something along those lines. Because Cancer, ruled by the moon, heavily emotional, but that's the moon. That's intuitive people. I'm ruled by the moon and I cry every day. And if you don't cry every day, I'm like, what are you consuming? Like, content-wise, media-wise, that you're not being moved to tears at some point. Jim Valvano, like, if you're not moved to tears or moved to laughter or have deep, deep love every single day, what the hell are you doing, you know? The Jimmy V Foundation is very much based on that. But between Mercury and the moon is a very sensitive 0 point, right? We have this, you know, kind of chaotic ending to Gemini. We have this bankruptcy degree in the last parts of Gemini, and then we have the 29 degrees of Gemini, which is all about the mockingbird singing from the treetops. It's very menacing sounding, and only a Gemini fashion could a mockingbird in a treetop seem like a menacing situation, but it very much is. But then for 0 degrees of Cancer, we're looking at that bridge from Mercury to the moon. So Mercury is at the last degree of Gemini. Mercury is not at the last degree of Gemini. Mercury ruling the sign of Gemini, and then the last degrees of Gemini being about the bankruptcy, then the mockingbird, and then the last degree of Gemini, which is technically the 0 degree of Cancer, is a parade of bathing beauties before large beach crowds. This is very much about only being appreciated for your superficial beauty, your image, your looks, what you look like physically, very much can be about that. You can also kind of like manipulate people with your image at times. Being on show, being displayed on show can definitely feel like that. This is like beauty contests, nudist beaches, flaunting your body, lusting after the unattainable. That's crazy specific with this. Mermaids converging, water nymphs. These are all things, the themes of this 0 degree of Cancer. Beauty is in the heart of the beholder, from Al Bernstein is one quote. Beauty and things exist in the mind which contemplates them, from David Hume. Lord Chesterfield says, you must look into people as well as at them. So not just being skin surface level type of topical conversations, right? We're talking about going to the depths, seeing people for their depths. And that's where we go with 1 degrees Cancer, which is going to be the next one. So the link between Mercury and the moon is this little connection here. So the parade of bathing beauties at the 0 degree of Cancer, or the 30th degree of Gemini. And then the 1 degree of Cancer is going to be the truth degree to this placement. And that is, on a ship, sailors lower an old flag and raise a new one. So this is all about loyalty, alliances, changing of the guard, shifting from one mentality to another, an old flag, raising a new one. You know, Mercury to the moon. It's like, what did we do? We traveled to the moon and landed on her and put a flag down. It's very much this type of energy. You know, this is about an old allegiance too. New beginnings can start when you stop thinking from a business fashion or a fashion of what everyone else needs with Mercury, and look at the moon and be like, what do I need? What do I need emotionally? What do I need to nurture myself? What do I need to nurture my soul? The solution degree of the 0 degree of Cancer is 2 degrees Cancer, which is a man on a magic carpet observes vast vistas below. Very much about aliens, honestly, if we're going to go that direction. This is very much about seeing aliens and like hovering things and like not knowing what they are. Perhaps like a little bit of isolation as you're sailing over things in your magic carpet adventure. Very much the theme of this. Feeling a little above things at times can also be the theme of this. So the power degree of Cancer, which is at 2 degrees of Cancer, is really diving into the things that you want to naturally detach from, diving into the uncomfortable situations that might put you into a spotlight that you weren't prepared for, or might separate you from places, or might show you the difference of how you grew up compared to other people. Seeing the whole picture is also a big theme of this. So bridging Mercury and the moon is a 0 point of Cancer. And it's very much what you think turns into how you feel. And that's what Mercury to the moon is. So the 3rd house to the 4th house, the bridge between that is this little one. So this little tiny bridge of Mercury and the moon connecting, the zenith point, if you will, the accumulation of both the end of Gemini and the beginning of Cancer, is all about not seeing yourself as above others, connecting with the people below, submerging yourself in other people's lives to see the privilege that you may have. And it's not just using people as like, wow, glad I don't live that life, because that's not it either. When you empathize with people, it's not about, wow, your life really would be terrible to live. I'm glad I have my own. I'm so sad about yours, though. That's what it seems like when you're like, oh, wow, that would be so hard. It's like, yeah, we all have hard lives. We all have a story about our hardships. From hardships to the stars is Kansas's literal motto. So I will get through my hardships to go journey to the stars. All right. And that's kind of that theme of Gemini to Cancer is a very charged one, but it's not the same reason that you think. It's not because it's like this chaos, like tornado of energy. It's more of an awakening of sorts and realizing, oh, my part in this is starting a new guard, changing the flag, realizing that, you know, I have been skating by on topical things my whole life. Maybe it's time to change to a new path. And wherever 0 degrees Cancer is in your chart, that's where you can look for that. That for me is in my 12th house. And for me, my new path and my changing of guard was through my spiritual awakening. So that happened around like 2018, 2019. So Saturn return time for me. So it was very interesting. And of course, my Saturn squares 0 degrees Cancer. Exactly. Or opposite. 0 degrees Cancer. Exactly. So fun. Lots of fun. But going into the bridge between the moon and the sun is probably one of the most poetic ones. It is a bridge in ancient Egyptian times that were known as the dead days, the epigemal days. I'm really bad at that term, so my apologies if I butchered it. But it's like the days where Khonsu was tricked by, I can't remember the god that tricked him. I think it might have been, or Set was tricked by Khonsu. Yeah, there we go. In a game of dice, and then gave Newt the ability to have her 5 kids in that window from July 26th to July 31st, those 5 extra days, or the 5 New Year days. It's all very complicated, but I promise you there is a lot of basis of truth underneath the jarbling of words that I just put out there. So you can look it up for yourself. The dead days, the Egyptian dead days, intercalary days, whatever you want to call them. Some people think they're at the end of the actual calendar New Year, but if you know anything about ancient Egyptian culture, you know between Cancer and Leo season was that flooding of the Nile, that time where the new year kind of like came back. Because if you're in Egypt, I feel like the sun makes or breaks your day a lot. So it makes sense to have your new year starting in Leo season. So all that aside, looking into the 0 degree of Leo, let's talk about the people that have 0 degree. Oh, I didn't even talk about 0 degree Cancer suns. 0 degree Cancer suns, Meryl Streep, Lana Del Rey, and Prince William. Isn't that cool? I'm going to have to go back and like include that somehow in the video that I'm clipping from this, but we'll figure it out. The 0 degree Leo suns are Woody Harrelson, Daniel Radcliffe from Harry Potter, Monica Lewinsky, Rose Kennedy, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Wow. Rose Kennedy happened to have a 0 degree Mars and 0 degree Virgo vertex as well. So that's like real peak level. So those are very, very strong people. Woody Harrelson's one of my favorite actors of all time. Daniel Radcliffe, obviously adore him from the Harry Potter series. Monica Lewinsky has a lot of powerful degrees in her chart, as well as the 0 degree of her Leo sun. Rose Kennedy was kind of an abomination of a human, but she started one of the biggest political dynasties and American royal families, so to speak, with Joe Kennedy. So she does deserve some historical nods there, right? The more I learn about the Kennedy family, the less I envy their incredibly public life. You know, a lot of people don't realize that the sins of our fathers come out through the actions and lives of their sons. And it's not just fathers and sons, it's mothers and daughters. We are the unlived lives of all of our ancestors since all of time. So for us to understand that takes pretty big, picture thinking, very big picture thinking. And to know that I am living the largest life that any woman in modern times has lived on my family side, it's amazing. I mean, I had royal family back in the day, and I'm sure they had grand lives and crazy lives, and they're part of like big moments in history. But who's to say I'm not, Who knows? A lot of people would think that the 0 degree of Gemini would be the most mentally unstable. I'll go ahead and say that the 0 degree of Leo is where I think that the most causes to be a little bit not all stable, regulated, and even keel can be through that 0 degree of Leo. The 0 degree of Leo starts, of course, at the 30th degree of Cancer, which is represented by a daughter of the American Revolution. This is a very staunch symbol. If you know anything about the Daughters of the American Revolution, I almost joined the group, honestly, because I could. My grandfathers of many different various great, I don't know if it's my great or great, whatever. They fought in Baltimore in American Revolution, and also War of 1812. I could join that one, and I'm sure others, but a lot of things were like very much held to tradition with those groups of people, and I wasn't really like, look, I have Sun Square Uranus. I'm not going to join shit for shit. I have my own world and I live in it, and that's enough for me. So I'm not one to join a lot of things. I don't like joining groups or boards or causes. I am radically living a life of as pure of heart as possible, with fully vocalizing as many causes as possible that I can. I mean, I went on public television and told everyone that if you don't believe in astrology, that's fine, it still exists, and continued to like live my life as if nothing happened. And I think that's cool. I think it's cool that it's part of my story that I speak out about this stuff, because it exists whether or not you believe in it. So daughter of the American Revolution, very staunch, very tradition based, very like not what you would expect with Leo. So 0 degrees Leo is this, unfortunately, kind of overseeing, dominatingly critical degree, supporting battles that have already been fought, false feelings of superiority, having to be in the club to be accepted, narrow-minded conservatism, glorifying the past, relying on old traditions that were in their day radical and transforming, rejecting one's inheritance. I don't know why you would do that, but this is also a huge degree of the feminist movement. So 0 degrees Leo is radical, it's powerful, but it's also critical in the fact that the next degree following that 1 degree of Leo is the truth degree to this. And it's kind of not great health-wise. So 1 degree Leo is represented by a man is under emotional stress and blood rushes to his head. Honestly, this reminds me of the Hanging Man. And it's like, he's stressed out, he's hanging upside down, all the blood rushes to his head. Will it give him an answer? Who fucking knows? But he's going to try, right? That's the degree of what this is all about. But seeing that this is all like about disorientation, blood pressure problem. This degree allegedly is the erectile participation or dysfunction degree. Didn't know that, but found that out through research. Thank you for letting us know that, Lynda Hill. Degree also of sunburns. So 0 degrees Leo is a degree of sunburns. But it's like that 1 degree of Leo is bridging the moon and then with the sun. So this is like the divine alchemical marriage. So the staunch feminism raised with the man under emotional stress, that is the marriage that seems to be of modern times, right? We have these radical women making their own money, doing their own thing. And then we have these men that are kind of emotionally stressed out. And there is talks of what I hear is a male loneliness epidemic. I'm not laughing about it. The male loneliness epidemic. I'm smiling because it's like, it seems to be that the more women become independent financially, the less they need to get married. And people are slowly starting to wake up to the fact that maybe women haven't been in love all these years. They've been looking for security, looking for trust. If you are in love and happen to also get financial security out of it, you are living the dream, right? It is not my dream to marry rich. I am just going to marry for love, and I call it the old-fashioned way. And it just so happens I'm going to marry someone incredibly talented that can provide for me, and that's the real gift, right? But 0 degrees Leo is all about this divine feminine masculine balance. And when you don't have that in your life, I think that's where a lot of mental illness comes from, is the inability to express our energies that live within us. We all have masculine, we all have feminine. It is a ice cream swirl throughout our body of these energies, and we get to choose which one we embody. So with 0 degrees Leo, it's this radical heart-centered 0 degrees Leo is just a bursting heart energy, right? This would also be a sign of heart attacks and heart problems, is when you have placements in Leo. Is like the heart is very centric to your health, especially a sun in Leo. You know, sun in Leo, the sun is at home in Leo. The sun is happy in Leo. The sun wants to express itself loudly and be in the spotlight. The sun might forget that it's not the only person living in the world, and that's okay too. But the man under emotional stress and the daughter of the American Revolution is just what I really do think connects these two, the moon and the sun ruled signs, so well there. The problem is with Leo being such a louder than loud degree. The 2 degrees of this degree is represented by an epidemic of mumps. This is hysterical feelings, immunity issues. If you suppress feelings within your body, your autoimmune system is usually the one that suffers. Take it from someone who has gone through autoimmune conditions and has battled my way through them and is out on the other side these days. It is so important that people with placements around 0 degrees Leo fully express themselves. It will literally kill them inside to not do that. These are also people that might have a fear of medical procedures, people, professionals, all that. This is also a degree of media frenzies and huge outbreaks of violence or actual conditions like mumps. And these kind of things can break out. It is part of that 2 degree of Leo. Fear of bad health, hypochondria, rampaging gossip, widespread fear or upset, stories that get out of control, rashes, or skin problems. So also another sign of medical conditions is when I read somewhere, because my autoimmune conditions did affect my skin for some time. I read somewhere that your skin is a reflection of your psyche. And so when my skin would be bright red and I would just be kind of inflamed, I was like, is my psyche inflamed? And guess what? As an Aries sun squaring Saturn exactly, it was inflamed. My skin was a little bit inflamed. My sun squaring Saturn, also my Saturn in Capricorn. Capricorn rules the skin. There was going to be some, conditions, but I was literally repressing that kind of energy within my body, and that can bring that type of energy. There are times where this 0 degree of Leo is going to open you up to a whole new world. Maybe the person you fall in love with has a certain tradition with their family that you end up adopting because you're like, wow, that's really beautiful. I want to have more things like that in my family. Maybe you fall in love with a 0 degree Leo and they show you how to radically love yourself and show yourself that love. Who knows? But it's a very powerful part of the zodiac. So going into the 0 degree of Virgo, this is where we see Kobe Bryant, Paulo Coelho, River Phoenix, and Trixie Mattel. That's the lineup of people. Paulo, I'm probably pronouncing his last name wrong. He wrote The Alchemist, which is an incredible book that I absolutely loved. And don't worry, I cried during reading it. So yes, I will cry during everything. Oops, there we are. We're back. So the 0 degree of Virgo is going to be represented by perfectionists, right? Not only have I decided that the 0 degree in degree theory is ruled by Virgo, I've decided that the exalted degree of anything to do with Virgo will be 0 degrees Virgo, because that is if you have your vertex or sun at 0 degrees Virgo, that's like such a poignant, powerful thing. So what is the difference between a 0 degree Virgo sun or Virgo placement versus a 0 degree of Gemini? 0 degree of Gemini is more this wind of whispers within your brain, and like you hear these things from source. You might be like connected to source in some way. 0 degrees of Virgo is way more about perfectionism, detailed perfectionism, borderline OCD perfectionism, and also being highly critical of everyone around you. I know this because I not only have a Virgo stellium in my 3rd house, I have a 6th house stellium in Capricorn in my 6th house. So it's like very much like, oh, this energy is very palpable and very uncomfortable because it's so familiar to me. I love people that have Virgo placements. The people that I've learned the most from in my life do have Virgo placements, and Virgo suns especially, they teach you this radical cautionism It's not radical optimism. It's radical cautionism that they bring to the function, right? They bring this energy to the function. And it's like, damn, okay, like we've got a lot of energy here that could be used for anything else besides stress. What could we do with that? So we're going to look to the 30th degree of Leo, which is technically the 0th degree of Virgo. Then we'll look at 1 degree Virgo as the truth degree, and then we'll look at 2 degrees Virgo as the solution degree. Then I'm going to take a little break and smoke a joint with you guys and talk about some more things. And then we're going to jump into Libra. We have 30 degrees Leo, which is that 0 degree of Virgo, which is an unsealed letter, has vital and confidential information. Virgos have secrets of everyone around them. You will not catch a Virgo without a secret, okay? Virgos know things. They know things because they're connected. They know things because they're intuitive. They know things because they have these gut feelings and they just know. If you're lying to them, good luck. An unsealed letter has vital and confidential information, is an image of words, thoughts, notes, or messages that have been written. But as the letter is unsealed, they have not been sealed in an envelope. They have vital and confidential information that implies important information may need to be concealed from others. Yes. Very much the description of this. It's very much about being too trusting. That whole heart on your sleeve thing of Leo is kind of coming into here with the sun and Mercury once again linking back up. It is more of like a, what have you learned? What have you discovered about yourself? The sun is like very much that purifying, humbling juggernaut of the solar system that will burn anyone that gets too close to it, but also everything must center around it. So very Leo, if you think about it too much. This is very much like, what information do you have for me? Can this information destroy you or bring you closer to the point that you want to be in life? The 1 degree of Virgo, which is the truth degree, is in a portrait. The best of a man's traits and character are idealized. So let's be real. A lot of people that are Virgos get a lot of hate because they might just be a little bit too perfect for others to deal with, right? And so they might hold themselves to that perfection standard, or other people might hold themselves to that perfectionism standard. First day drinking with my new mouth, so there we go. I'll just put my hair over there. You can't really see it. We'll just keep going. Knowing that, like, I clearly am not perfectionism level, but I do have those Virgo placements. There's something about knowing that, like, your life is going to be this beaming roller coaster of information. You'll have to choose at times what information you allow to actually reach others, what information you allow to dictate your life moving forward, and also what you want to take with you, because a lot of the times we have these traits from our childhood, our past, people around us. I don't know, the people that we spend a lot of time around. Like, you are the top 5 people you spend the most time around. So congrats, I'm just members of my family. We're all extensions of each other. Yay. But it's very much the case with this. You know, the 0 degree of Virgo is very much that divine womb energy. So it's going to be the sacred of sacred places in one's chart. And you have to give yourself more credit. You can't beat yourself up so much. You have to be able to see the beauty of yourself, and you have to be able to see yourself in a positive light, because at some point you're going to have to love yourself, because if not, you're just going to keep coming back with the same lessons, same people, same shit, different body, different lifetime. I look forward to learning new things in another lifetime. I look forward to just sitting and being a space rock in another lifetime. I have no idea what happens next, but I do know that understanding yourself on this earthly plane is a huge advantage to whatever comes next, right? Knowing thyself and already having addressed thyself is a very, very powerful tool. So we're going to go to the solution degree of the 0 degree Virgo placement, which will be a large white cross dominating the landscape, stands alone on top of a high hill. So a little bit more savior is, if we needed Virgos to have any more of a self-sacrificing nature, here is a symbol for them to be like, the large white cross dominating the landscape stands alone on this high hill. Like, yes, we get it. You guys will sacrifice yourself for your coworkers, for the stranger on the street corner. You will put yourself in service for anyone, anywhere, anytime. Like, to me, Virgos are the ultimate, how can I help? What can I do? What can I fix? What can I bring type of energy when they're not busy stressing out about everything that they've created for themselves. A lot of times they interact with things and they will start asking questions that they didn't really want to know the answers to, just to keep the other person talking so they can go back to thinking about what they wanted to think about in their head and just doing whatever. So it can be a very like placating type of placement sometimes, but this is also about not letting your religious ideals dominate your life. It can be like you're standing alone because people deserted you, or you're standing alone because everyone's looking up to you. But whatever it is, this self-sacrificing island that you might be thinking that you need to be, it's not true. You know, the secrets that you hold should not be something that you sacrifice yourself because of. And that's a huge, huge, huge lesson for 0 degrees Virgo. It's like, we all have secrets, okay? We all have things that we're not proud of that we've done in the past. That's why I'm not out here being like, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm a saint. I am going to lead you to spiritual awakenings and you will now be healed. Like, that's not me. I'm a very realistic person. I know through time, because my third house starts at 0 degrees Virgo. That's probably why I should like preface things with that. Like, I understand this degree very well because it's where my third house starts and it's where my mindset starts in my chart. The third house is our communication, our finding our words, finding the spells that we are under, so to speak, and sacrificing yourself in the name of whatever it is isn't the answer. You know, we need other people. We need communion. We need community. We need all these things that help us live the human experience just a little bit better. And that's where the 0 degree of Virgo can come in and be a little bit like, okay, look, I know we have plans. I know we have details. I know we have systems and routines and things to focus on, but let's look at these and see how they're benefiting our life. Let's look at these and see how they're taking away from our life. And where am I sacrificing myself in the name of something that's not giving me the same return, right? Like, standing on a hill all day, yelling at the sky is not going to give you the same return as sitting with a friend on a hill and having a conversation, you know? So a lot of things with the 0 degree Virgo placements, but just remember the human connection is the most powerful. So we have made it to 0 degrees Libra. Yay. We're here. And I've only spilled coffee on myself once. That's kind of impressive. This is the halfway through. So we got 0 degrees Libra through 0 degrees Pisces coming up. And that's kind of fun. I am going to keep going and just smoke this as I go, so you guys can just deal with the pauses. I think one thing that I enjoy a lot is cannabis, because my whole life as an Aries sun has been about going and going and going, and that has been the journey. Oh yeah, I do have my Shadonis ring on. Yay, my Shadonis moon ring. I love it so much. But my life has been going, going, going. You can probably tell that I can talk for 100 years straight, so that's not really an issue. But the one thing that has been really obvious through my life is my ability to continue to yap, to continue to be 100 miles an hour. So when I discovered cannabis during my Saturn return, it pretty much saved my life, because I started staying home a lot more. It's magical how that happens, right? Start staying home more, start saving money, just chilling, reading a lot more books. Yeah, so the gateway drug, when you're used to amphetamines, cannabis, it will make you calm the fuck down. But that's kind of like the beauty of where your Saturn return takes you, is because it takes you these things where you discover things that you've never really done before. Like, I used to smoke weed and like freak out because I was so unbalanced internally. Like, well, I remember this tweet that said, like, if you approach the joint with pure intentions, it will know that. But honestly, 7-pointed star plant, I think that there's something onto that. Saturn is not the type to enjoy people who just try to use escapism and dissociation to regulate themselves. They appreciate hard work and all the things that go along with that to regulate people. All right. I'm so excited. 0 degrees Libra. So, I need water. And not just any water, my copper water. Like I only drink out of this copper bottle now. My elementary school as a kid, shout out to Trailwood Elementary, was all copper pipes, and the water fountains tasted just like that. And I used to chug the water from the copper pipes. I'm like, this is so delicious. Not sure why, but hey, it tastes great, and now it reminds me of those drinking fountains. So hell yeah. The 0 degree of Libra is going to be the 0 point between Mercury and Venus, since Virgo is ruled by Mercury and Libra is ruled by Venus. The 30th degree of Virgo is where the 0 degree of Libra comes from. So looking at Virgo 30 degrees, we see having an urgent task to complete, a man doesn't look to any distractions. This is a degree about needing to pay attention to what the fuck you're doing. And for me, I feel that each and every day. My third house ends at 29 degrees, some sort of minutes. 29 degrees, 36 minutes, Virgo. So technically rounded up, it is this 30th degree of Virgo or 0 degree of Libra. And having an urgent task to complete, a man doesn't look to any distractions. Your girl has or had or whatever the hell. I was diagnosed with ADHD once when I was 18 and started taking Adderall from then until I was like 34. That was a journey. I absolutely ended up just losing it on Adderall one day. I had it slept. I had taken my Adderall, and then I just thought that would be a good idea to keep going, and that turned into 2 days, and then I just lost it mentally. I was like, I need to sleep, so somebody help me, thanks. And that can be this overwhelming theme of this degree is something that I've noticed, is that insomnia, it can be kind of a problem around 0 degrees Libra. So if you have later degrees of Virgo, it's almost like this doesn't want to go to sleep in fear of what you will miss out on kind of degree. It's like a FOMO, but not for anything specific. It's just life in general. The 1 degree of Libra, though, is very poignant. It is an Aries rule degree, which is why I think it's a little bit violent. This degree is represented by a butterfly preserved and made perfect with a dart through it. If you guys want to see what that looks like in the book. Just because I am reading from a book here. I have a stack of cards literally right next to me that are the Sabian symbols, and I'm memorizing the Sabian symbols as I go, but for the most part, I recognize a lot of them, and it helps me read charts and break them down instantly. So a butterfly preserved and made perfect with a dart through it is the quintessential Libra experience. You are known for beauty. You are celebrated for your beauty. You might even be celebrated for how perfect you might look. You might be celebrated for how perfect you appear to look, or because of how beautiful you are now the example. So you are saved to be the example forever in this butterfly preserved and made perfect with a dart through it. This is also a degree of sacrificial types of lives at times. Around the 0 degree of Libra, it can be something so beautiful that it can't live in this world for very long, which is a very sad way to start off Libra, right? It's kind of like a melancholic, if you're too pretty for this world, it'll eat you up and kill you. But I mean, look at the things that we have killed over time that were so pure and so beautiful. Jesus is a great example. We had this guy who was allegedly the son of God coming down here being like, hey guys, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys some things to help regulate your heads, and maybe we can all get along better and love each other. And everyone's like, suspicious. How about we kill you? But it's very much a story of our lives from 0 to 33. So if you want to look at the metaphorical parable side to the Jesus story, you can look at birth, we're given this insurmountable task. We don't know where we come from. We don't know where we go to next, but we are here on this earth existing. And the sum of Mercury and Venus meeting together is our understanding of ourselves and the beautification of ourselves. And it's not beautification in the way of like, oh, everyone's getting Botox. It's the purification of our souls. Yes, Jesus is the first victim of cancel culture. Thank you for that comment, because it's so real. It's how we see ourselves. It's how we really balance ourselves, how we balance out the Libra part of ourselves. So people with Libra placements, and especially early Libra placements, even more so specifically 0 degrees Libra, like we're talking about, they have a tendency to perfect themselves or think that they are held to this standard. But the parable of the Jesus story is at birth, we're born into this world. We have no idea where we're going. We have no idea what we're supposed to do here. But we come to consciousness, or we come to our consciousness at some point. Some people never do. But around 33 years of age is what's known as the Jesus year. It's this coming of consciousness. It's your 10th house year, so it's your public year. 34 is your 11th house year. 35 is your 12th house year. Not recommended, not fun. I made it through my 12th house year by the hairs that do not exist on my chinny chin chin. There is just something about that 12th house year. Mine started off with my friend Mike passing away from fentanyl overdose. And then my dad almost died in an emergency open heart. I think it was a triple bypass surgery. And then he subsequently had these like chemical heart attacks happening less than a month later, and then I like had to save his life all over again. It was I didn't do any of the surgeries. I was just there as moral support, but I was the one that yelled at the doctor the first time and said, "You don't get him today. Sorry guys, he's gonna be living through this and coming home alive." I told that story yesterday. I told a more aggressive version of what I actually said to the doctor. My dad's not fucking dying today. But sometimes you have to be firm like that, right? Just let people know where they stand. Hey, doctor, you're not going to kill my dad. Almost tried to, but thank you, KU Med, for piecing him back together. The light of the 6th race transmuted to the 7th. This is the 2 degree of Libra, and that is where the solution degree to this perfection of beauty and ideals and standards of Libra is all coming to a solution point, right? We see the way out of this beauty perfected and this paralyzing beauty in some situations that can be perfected or preserved by man simply because they die young. And that's a very, very sad part of the 0 degree Libra portal and the bridge between Mercury and Venus. But, what we say, and this is something that I've kind of felt for quite some time, but what we say in our lives and the words that which goes into our body cannot defile us. That which comes out of our body is what can defile us. It's a quote attributed to Jesus, actually. And it's all about, the foods we eat and the things we consume. That's not gonna kill us, right? What's gonna kill us is the words we speak, the attitudes we put forward, and the mindsets that we walk around with. Going around and hating somebody because of the way they look is like lowest level of hatred around, like, you're so lame. Like, hate somebody because they use overhead lighting. Don't hate somebody because of the way they look. Like, use something so specific that you're like, I can't stand you because you use overhead lighting. You're honest, you're direct, and you're not blaming it on something as ridiculous as being afraid of another person because they don't look like you, okay? The future is a blended, happy, multifaceted future, right? We do not have a future that is all one race or one nationality. We have to work together as a whole. And the 2nd degree of Libra is so much about that. It's also what I think is really funny, the 6-7 degree. There is a degree in the Sabian symbols for everything. And of course, the phenomenon of 6-7 was, to me, expressed in this light of the sixth rays transmuted to the seventh. So I thought it was funny. It was a 6-7 degree. So always a good time when you're looking at these Sabian symbols, because you just never know what's going to come next, right? So as this degree is so much about the perfectionism of things, the way out of this degree is leaping forward in consciousness. Okay, so what? You've been held to this beauty standard your whole life. Fuck it, do your own thing. You have to take that leap of faith into the next stage of your life, and that's very much about the take what's good and leave the rest. And it's like that with everything. Like, I have memories of my friend Mike that were great. I have memories that were not so great, but when he passed away, I chose to remember the good, and I chose to remember what I knew him as. And that's kind of the 0 degree of Libra. We take what is meant for us, and we can weigh our hearts in the halls of Mott, so to speak, with this newfound information. We say, hey, these are the parts of myself I want to leave in the past. These are the parts of myself I want to bring to the future. And that's as simple as it needs to be. So the 0 degrees of Libra, very much the what are you going to drop in moving forward? What is going to be part of your balance? Are you going to have a work and life balance? Are you going to honor that? Or are you going to be all work and no life? Or are you going to be all life and no work? And you have to make that work for you in some way. If you're lucky enough to have someone paying for your life, then maybe you're able to do that in a different fashion. But it's all about what you do to transmute the story and the narrative that you were born into and turn it into something magical. So we get to the 0 point of Virgo, and it's very much the womb, the natural birthing feeling. The 0 point of Libra, it's this, okay, now we feel it in our bones, our body. What do we want to bring into this next stage? Because to me, Scorpio represents the underworld. We go into this part of the season where we come out reborn, and it's not because we choose to, it's because we all have to. If you have Scorpio placements or you are an 8th houser, chances are you know all about this. You are the phoenix rising from the ashes in so many ways, and so many times, in so many phases of your life. So if you have that 0 degree of Scorpio, we're going to get to that. But, I really want to focus on that 0 degree of Libra. Do not, like the 0 degree of Virgo is do not sacrifice yourself. The 0 degree of Libra is do not sacrifice your time and energy. Do not sacrifice your heart and soul to those that aren't willing to do the same for you. It's really about finding the balance for the people that are meant for you, the people that aren't. Libra also is the home to the 7th house, so the others are a huge part of this. Are you going to let others tell you what you are made of, or are you going to find out for yourself this lifetime? It's a big, big part. So we get to the part of the zodiac where it starts to descend into the underworld. We go into 0 degrees Scorpio after we just got out of 0 degrees Libra. This is kind of fun because 0 degrees Scorpio, a lot of Scorpios get a lot of shit, right? From people that they love. Oh, I forgot to tell you the 0 degrees of Libra sons: Bruce Springsteen, Anthony Mackie, Jason Alexander. And 0 degrees Libra is exactly where the sun was when they discovered Neptune, which is amazing because Neptune is currently at 0 degrees Aries, exactly opposite that point. Who knew? It's kind of cool to think about. It's like, oh, Neptune is going through its Neptune opposition where it was when the sun was. It's like its sun Neptune opposition. Yeah, there we go. Not its Neptune opposition. I don't know where I was going with that stat, but it was definitely somewhere very cool in my mind. I was like, I'm going to use this stat about where the sun was when Neptune was discovered, 0 degrees Libra. And that's where Neptune currently opposes right now. But the 0 degrees of Scorpio, no surprise to anyone that knows 0 degrees Scorpio people, or know Scorpios in general, is all about knowing things. What do Scorpios do? Well, when they're younger, they drink and they know things. When they get older, they just know things and maybe drink every once in a while, but more than likely, they got that other system early on, and now they are either in their California sober stage where they only partake in THC consumption, or they're just not really into alcohol. And if they are still into alcohol, it's probably because they didn't learn anything in the first stage of their life, and they're just doubling down, and that's cool. Do your own thing. Like, part of my spiritual theory, and who knows why this is, it's because chances are my outlook on it is let them. Like, when people act stupid or they say mean things about you, or they like put their foot in their mouth, or they say dumb shit and you're like, oh my God, you're ruining astrology for everyone with your horrible takes, and you feel the need to step in. I used to feel that way, and now I'm just like, fuck it. It's not because Mel Robbins came along and told me to use the let them theory that she stole from somebody else altogether. It's about the fact that there are so many people in this world that are going to do whatever the fuck they want. And the idea of controlling all those people, or all of them thinking the way that you do, or being aligned with the way that you think, or doing what you think is right for them to do. Like, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to be the one that controls all that. I want to know things, and I want to like guide others to knowing things through knowing themselves. That's where I am in life, right? So when everyone else is like, I need to preach and tell people how to live their lives, I'm like, whew, red flag, gotta go. 0 degree Scorpio is like that ultimate teacher though, right? We're talking about this degree that is represented in the Sabian symbols through Libra 30 degrees. Remember, the 30 degrees, the previous sign is the 0 degree of the actual sign you're looking at. So 0 degree Scorpio starts in the Sabian symbols at 30 degrees Libra, which is 3 mounds of knowledge on a philosopher's head. Normally, if I thought about somebody having mounds on their head, I'd be a little bit like concerned, like, what is wrong? Is this like a camel head situation? Is this like extra reserves of brain up there, or perhaps water tanks? I don't know, a cooling system. But like, you have to remember that these Sabian symbols are channeled in a car because Elsie Wheeler had mobility issues and was confined to a wheelchair. So had to go to a place that was busy and active, so lots of minds, lots of thinking, but also a place that she could sit comfortably for hours on end. And so she was in a car. So 3 mounds of knowledge on a philosopher's head. This is a very abstract symbol. This is kind of one of the, like, there's one in Aries that's like a white triangle appears with golden wings, and you're like, where did it come from? Where is it going? It kind of sounds like the intro to Cotton Eye Joe, so I'll stop. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? White triangle with golden wings. Very much just like this ultimate knowing, this like divine knowing. It's almost like the holy trinity of knowing, the 3 mounds on the philosopher's head. So seeing all that, knowing that like you don't really have the actual humps on your head, like this is not indicating you're going to be born with nodules on your head, right? But you can tell usually how educated a person is by how they treat others, if they're kind to others, if they are just happy-go-lucky people. Like some of the most brilliant people I know, not the most educated, the most brilliant and insightful people I know treat everyone equally and treat everyone like they are the most important thing in the world at that very moment. Being so present is like a sign of intelligence, like not being on your phone constantly, not constantly being, oh, what was that? I didn't hear you. I was busy with my own thoughts. Intelligence means having the security in your brain to stop worrying about perceived threats and just think about things. Like sometimes, this might surprise you guys, sometimes when I get too lost in the cannabis sauce, I will have moments where I'm like, does any of this matter? Are we all just floating towards the abyss? What is the point of this life? And to have the time in 2026 to sit around and think about how things all work together or think about how it all connects, that is a privilege, okay? Not a lot of people are philosophers these days because not a lot of people have time to sit around and think about things, let alone think about the way things could be, or let alone have divine information. Most people are bogged down with the next Microsoft Teams meeting they have to attend, or the next event they have to partake in, or the next showmanship of participation that they have to do so they can earn a living to go home and just exist how they want to. How we live in this day and age is so out of touch with nature. So the 0 degree of Scorpio to me is always like, okay, we're going from Venus back to Mars. So Venus and Mars getting back together, and from the bridge of Mars to Venus. Now this is Venus to Mars. Scorpio is ruled by Mars. You could also say Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. So the bridge of Venus to Pluto. One thing that Scorpios are great at is finding out the actual information and the truth to something. They do research like crazy, and they just know things, right? They just know things. And that's kind of like when I see my friends that have 0 degree Scorpio placements, really 0 degree anything, or anything in the Scorpio zodiac symbols. Like, holy crap, is Scorpio filled with some powerful visuals in the Sabian symbols. I wish I could go through them all today, but we're almost there. We're getting through this, okay? The 3 mounds of knowledge on the philosopher's head is kind of like that bridge between Venus and Mars, because the next one that we have, the 1 degree Scorpio, is that Mars ruled, as it's an Aries ruled action-based degree. So we go from this like metaphorical head with 3 mounds on it of some philosopher, and that really seems to understand spiritual teachings and like has a wise amount and a large amount of wisdom to share, into this sightseeing bus filled with tourists. And that's what the 1 degree of Scorpio is. It's kind of like being thrown into a place you're not familiar with. So it's almost like the 3 mounds of knowledge on the philosopher's head is like the ending of the superficial, and then the sightseeing bus filled with tourists. You are day 1 tourist of this Hades underworld of Scorpio. So day 1, you're in this bus filled with everybody that doesn't speak the same language. Their customs are all different, and you're in a new place. That's the one thing you know, that if you are a tourist, you're in somewhere that is not familiar to you. So going into the underworld is not familiar to a lot of people, right? The solution degree to this placement of 0 degrees Scorpio is a broken bottle and spilled perfume. So this is, to me, the degree of can't keep a secret spilling out. In the Sabian symbols, they say the memory of things lingering on, censor smells that evoke reactions. So if like you have a strong signature smell and you have placements around 2 degrees Scorpio, that's so spot on, because that is like the degree of like perfume and fragrance people. It doesn't have to be a negative thing like secret spilled, but it is all about the aesthetics, the smell, the coziness of smell. It can also be the sign or the degree of alcoholism, as it talks about broken bottles, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the perfume that's intoxicating. It can be the actual spirits in that bottle that are the intoxicating part of that 0 degrees of Scorpio. So it's very intense when it comes to, you're going from 3 mounds of knowledge on a philosopher's head to a sightseeing bus filled with tourists that are all new to a certain situation. Like Scorpio to me is the house of death, of course. Pisces is like the final endings, like the finalizations of things. Because even when you die, that's not the final part, right? We still have the unknown that comes with death, the what do you mean I'm dead type of feeling. One show that they canceled on Netflix for some reason, probably because Jeff Goldblum was too expensive to pay back-to-back seasons, but Chaos, it's Kaos on Netflix, is this like Greek modern yet not so modern type of show, and it talks about Orpheus and his journey through the underworld to get his bride that passed away tragically, and it's like this whole thing. And that's kind of like the beginning to Scorpio. I just feel like it's the journey into the underworld. So of course you're gonna have a bunch of people who don't know what the hell is going on, and it's gonna feel like a bunch of people who just showed up in one place and it's chaotic and it's a little bit like, what the hell is going on here? Like, who are all these people? What am I supposed to do with all this information? And you're being carted to a place you might feel disconnected at times, but it's all about just spilling your guts, sharing. Don't harbor the secrets that, like, if it's a secret, like, hey mom, when I was 5 years old, I thought it would be a good idea to back your car into the garage door. Sorry, I did that. Like, that's a good secret to get off your chest at some point. Like, maybe when your mom has calmed down a little bit and isn't going to hit you with a shoe for doing that. But you can kind of figure out when it's time to share those secrets, whether it's a secret you share in an anonymous group where you're talking about your addictions through alcoholism. This can also be like a sharing your truth kind of placement. It could be sharing in therapy. It could be sharing with friends. Some of the quotes for this degree are: a single event can awaken within a stranger. A single event can awaken within us a stranger totally unknown to us. I looked into that empty bottle and I saw myself. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand, from William Shakespeare. But there's something about the fact that there is this underworld journey you have to go on, and sometimes to alleviate yourself from that underworld, you gotta spill your secrets. You gotta share some things that you might not be comfortable with. The amount of times I've shared information about my life that would be like mostly uncomfortable for people, it's insane. Like, my entire previous media personality, I shared everything I did, like everything I did. From the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed. On my Twitter account, I was sharing things. It was versions of the truth, but skewed versions of it, exaggerations possibly, but it was very much a personality I cultivated. So it was, I got a lot out then. But now that I am more into the spiritual realm, now that I'm more into my spiritual journey, I view myself as a spiritual leader, which is definitely a turn from where I started my spiritual journey. I am building things in the background to assist others in their spiritual journeys as well. I don't ever want to be the one that opens the gate and is like, everyone come to me, I have all the answers. I want to be the one that opens the gate and is like, here's all this cool shit you can kind of discover on your own when you feel like it. That's my approach to spirituality. I find people who are radically extreme in anything to be a lot to deal with. I don't know many people who are like, you know what, extremists are my cup of tea. But I like people who are passionate about what they do. I like people who are passionate about their pursuit of what they want to do in life. I am very, very all ears to be parts of collaborations where people are holding their equal weight and things like that. So, you know, it's nice to have these journeys and moments in life where you can upgrade yourself instantly with just a single choice. And that's what I think is beautiful about astrology. So release your inhibitions, feel the rain on your skin. That's what 0 degrees Scorpio is all about. All right, so we are going to 0 degrees Sagittarius. One of the most violent degrees of the Sabian symbols happens to be 29 degrees Scorpio. It is an Indian woman pleading to the chief for the lives of her children. Once again, this is mostly for Celeste, my dear friend that likes to tell me that my warnings about the Sabian symbol, whenever I see these outdated terms for Native Americans, I like to just say, hey, sorry about this. The Sabian symbols were from 1925, and the language that they use in them are it's very outdated, okay? So an Indian woman pleading to the chief for the lives of her children degree. It's this all about this, like almost like a child sacrificing degree, and people who are staunch protectors of children have this placement a lot in their charts. So 29 degrees Scorpio is a very, very strong defender of the innocent degree. But the 0 degrees of Sagittarius really starts at Scorpio 30 degrees. I just wanted to cover that degree because I do think it's a really powerful one leading up to 0 degrees Sagittarius and not one to just skate over. All the 29 degrees, by the way, are very important degrees in the zodiac. So if you get a chance, please check them out. But 30 degrees Scorpio is a lot more lighthearted. It's the 0 degrees of Sagittarius. So the bridge between Mars and Jupiter. We're now seeing Scorpio that's ruled by Mars, and then Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter. And that's going to be this bridge, the zenith point, the 0 point of Sagittarius. So 30 degrees Scorpio, children in Halloween costumes indulging in various pranks. It's 0 degrees Sagittarius energy. It's jovial. It's pranking. It's lighthearted. It's very much Sagittarius energy, right? The 1 degree of Sagittarius will be the truth degree to the 0 degree placement, and that is retired Army veterans gather to reawaken old memories. When I see people that have 0 degrees Sagittarius or 1 degree Sagittarius in their chart, I immediately know that there's some sort of like connection to veterans or people that have served this country or the elderly in some way, people who have lively stories but are older in some fashion. And it's a very powerful degree of the zodiac 0 point of Sagittarius. Like I said, the bridge between Mars and Jupiter. And it's all about you just went to war with yourself. You survived the underground of Scorpio. How are you going to take what you learned and expand that into the bountifulness of Sagittarius season? How are you going to share the knowledge? How are you going to teach the knowledge that you just learned? You went through hell and back. What did you learn? Because when you gather to reawaken old memories, you're reawakening the past and you're reawakening those stories within yourself and you're healing things. So once again, Sagittarius and Gemini are sister signs. So the yapping of Gemini is healing the higher self of Sagittarius, and it's very, very key. So the solution degree to 0 degree Sagittarius is the ocean covered with white caps. I can say this with a full heart now that it's worked out so well. My dear friend that is a Sagittarius that I've known since Twitter came out, or my Twitter debut in 2009 happened. My friend Kelly is a Sagittarius and was living in the desert. And while she was living on her Venus line and met the love of her life there, she ended up moving to the ocean. And the ocean is so important for the overall well-being of fire signs. And I get to take the credit of telling her to move to the ocean because it's going to be better for her mental health. And it definitely worked out, as she loves where she lives now by the ocean. So that's really cool. And Sagittarius energy and fire signs just need that open air and the water to just like transmute it all. You know, the earth always helps. Like the earth is always underneath us, but then you add in the oceanic waters, the salt waters, and then you bring in that ocean air. Salt life, baby. You're going to have these moments where everything is clear. And so 0 degrees Sagittarius to me is about having fun again. Celebrating the little thing. Like I used to be a hater when people would dress up on Halloween. I'd be like, oh, you're just never cool any other day of the year. So you have to dress up in a costume on Halloween. Hater energy. Now I'm like, can't wait to dress up in a couple's costume. What's going to be my first one? Can't wait to dress up in a family costume. What are we going to do? My kids have such great taste in costumes that we haven't done a family costume in a long time. Maybe we will do one in their later years. That would be really fun. But now they have such intricate costumes and like specific niche things that they do. That would be difficult. But I love dressing up in costumes because I'm pretty cool with myself 364 days of the year, right? Like I'm good being Gracey. Like things aren't bad here. So that final one day that I get to be like, all right, it's time to dress in a costume. It's time to get anonymous. Like I love that shit. So number one fan of costume healing. If you need to like act out a past life through your costume, just do so without the like past life, bad decisions. Like don't hurt anybody. Just act out what you believe is yourself in a past life. Get it out of your system that way. It's very powerful. And then, of course, then the 0 degree of Sagittarius also brings in that retired Army veterans gathering to reawaken old memories of that 1 degree of Sagittarius, which is beautiful. And then we have that ocean covered with white caps. Also, the ocean covered of white caps, like you only have white caps if the wind is heavy. So when we're talking about that degree being the solution degree, it's like you got to have that wind at your sails. Sagittarius, if they have wind, they have direction because that wind will guide them to the next place. Sagittarius are not going to be in one place for long, but they will be in that place until they find the next place to go to or that next level of inspiration. The day-to-day experiences of life of living quickly or living fast, having churning thoughts, being flighty is also a downside of this degree, because you can kind of just be in overdrive all the time, which is not always the best. This is also a degree of not knowing how to rest. So the 0 degrees is like the all-encompassing of the bridge between Scorpio and Sagittarius. And Scorpio is all about rest. Like, I'm cool with sleeping. I'm cool with staying home. I'm cool with doing all this stuff. Leave me the hell alone. And then they're also like, okay, cool. Well, I could kind of see here where I could, pop out and do some things. But the fact that it's merging with Sagittarius, the ultimate adventurer, the ultimate wisdom seeker, the ultimate jovial type of juggernaut presence. That's what it's all about. So, are you guys good? You guys need to get up and stretch. Like, I just want to run around. Luckily, I did. I got on the vibration plate before this, so I got all the running around out of my system. But we're in the final stretch now, so we're almost done. We're looking at the 0 degree of Capricorn. This one is so deeply personal. So deeply personal. I have Uranus here, conjunct Saturn and Neptune and my Mars and my descendant. So this 0 degree of Capricorn is what kicks off, for me, the Capricorn stellium that I get to experience every winter solstice going into Christmas. I think it's fun now, but I think as a kid, it was definitely an overwhelming time of the year for sure, because I didn't understand any of these emotions. Gotta do a lip gloss check, naturally. Going into hour 3 here, kids. Only a Gemini moon could do this. Only Gemini placements can yap this much, which I think is great, because it's like, hey, you guys are lucky that I have all this knowledge in my head, but I'm getting it out of my head, right? And one day, my vision is to have someone that's like really good with words and translating whatever my words have been into a book form. So I'll have a degree theory book, and I'll have a full like Sabian symbol book one day that you guys can get and see my interpretations of things. But I really just love working with Lynda Hills. Once again, this is hour 3. I've only talked about this book for a little bit at the beginning, but 360 Degrees of Wisdom, this is what it looks like if you don't want the beat up version of it. This is the incredible Sabian Bible that I use to understand all of my astrology practice. It's really been the sum of all things. So 30 degrees Sagittarius is 0 degrees Capricorn. The 30th degree of the zodiac is the 0 degree, because we don't have one. We go from 30 degrees Sagittarius to 1 degree Capricorn. There is no 0 in the Sabian. So I am here to translate that process to you, and that's what we're doing. So 0 degrees Capricorn is very much the karmic degree of this is the 0 degree, which is the Pope blessing the faithful. This is all about the Pope. This is all about, like, 0 degrees Capricorn is like this holier than thou, this larger than life type of figure, right? Because let's be real, December 21st is when the sun dies in the sky for 3 days, and then it magically picks back up right at the time of Christ's birth, when the sun is reborn and in Capricorn and doing, like, the parables are just, like I said, I don't want to be the one that wakes people up. I don't want to be the one that people are listening to and they're like suddenly in spiritual psychosis. I have no interest in being the one that's like, do you guys know who really sunk the Titanic? Like, not me. Okay, that's for somebody with more 8th house placements than I have. I have no 8th house placements. I just have a Pluto and Scorpio. So I am not going to be the one to show everyone the groundbreaking truth, right? I'm going to be the one that's like, yep, I knew that. Yep, that tracks. That's usually my answer. Yeah, that tracks. Or my favorite is when I do get like random like tweets from friends of mine that are astrology enthusiasts that are like, is this person for real? Is this really going to happen? Like, are we screwed here? And it's like, that person's a fucking lunatic, so don't worry about that. Just keep going on with your life. I do feel like a voice of reason in a lot of ways because I lived the first part of my life completely unaware of the stars. The first 30 years of my life, I had no fucking clue that we had an astrology chart. I thought we had a sun sign and that's it. That's all. Like, why would we have a whole chart with all these planets in it? These planets don't mean anything to me. They don't do anything at all. They have no impact on my life. Yeah. I lived very, very, very calcified to these things, which is okay. You got to have that point in your life. So if you're just discovering astrology and you're 102 years old watching this on YouTube, one, I want to say, wow, you are very technology savvy 102-year-old. Two, you can start learning about yourself right now and still give yourself a leg up for wherever we go next. So if you're 102 watching this, I'm very impressed, and please leave a comment so I know that you're there. And the people that I know are not 102 and can easily leave a comment in the comments, I will know if you're trying to fool me, so stop it. But if you're watching this and you're like, okay, I've got placements at 0 degrees Capricorn, why does Christmas suck? This could be it. Having placements at 0 degrees Capricorn means that you are a winter solstice specific energy type person. So like around winter solstice, if you have your sun there, you're in good company. 0 degree Sagittarius suns, by the way, I forgot to mention the 0 degree Scorpio suns. They are Ryan Reynolds, Drake, Miguel, Tilla Tequila, and Wayne Rooney. R.I.P. Tilla, I miss you in your crazy show. 0 degree Sagittarius suns are Scarlett Johansson, Snooki, Billy the Kid, and Marielle Hemingway, which is my favorite grandchild of Ernest Hemingway. We should all have a favorite grandchild of Ernest Hemingway. If you don't, then we can't be friends. I'm just kidding. But mine is Marielle because she's amazing. She's a mental health advocate. She is a spiritualist. She is a beautiful soul. So having a 0 degree Sagittarius sun totally tracks with Marielle. The 0 degree Capricorn suns are Ralph Fiennes, the Voldemort character from Harry Potter. I know he's done so many other things, and I'm sure I didn't pronounce his last name right, so whatever. Other 0 degree Capricorn suns are Lotto, the rapper, and then Meghan Trainor, the singer. So that's fun. Just to let you guys know, the 0 degree Aquarius sun will not be as exciting. Just going to that. But 0 degrees Capricorn is where it's still pretty hopeful. We have the Pope blessing the faithful. And then the 1 degree of Capricorn, which is the next degree over, is an Indian chief claims recognition and power from the assembled tribe. So it's kind of like a new authority figure, a new authority stage taking over. So it's definitely something that you kind of have to take your own personal authority. This is the 0 degree Capricorn is like showing up and being like, I belong here. This is why. Thank you in advance. I'm going to go build my empire now. And sometimes people don't even assemble and ask for permission. They just do it. And that's also the energy of this placement. So having these things in your chart, 0 degrees of any sign, are very powerful. You just have to figure out which portal it's opening. So we're having Jupiter and then Saturn. So Saturn rules over Capricorn and Aquarius. So we're going to have Saturn back to back in these signs. So it'll be Saturn bridge to Saturn, which is kind of cool because it's just more Saturn. But between Sagittarius being Jupiter ruled and Capricorn being Saturn ruled, we have the Pope blessing the faithful, an Indian chief claims recognition and power from the assembled tribe. Once again, if you missed my little politically correct talk, this is not current language. This was written in 1925, so an Indian chief would be a Native American chief at this point. So we all know that. I'm not trying to offend anyone, is what I'm getting at. 2 degrees Capricorn is the power degree of Capricorn, which is where my Saturn happens to be. So I love this degree. I also happen to have a very eclectic and expensive taste in clothing when it comes to things that I actively pick that I would want to represent my fashion style. My day to day is like plain shirts, gray sweats, whatever. But like if I'm actually making a statement or if I'm actually going out, I do like to make quite the impression with my clothes if I can. And this one brand, Who Decides War, is like the ultimate hoodie for this degree. Like I have this hoodie saved and I've had it saved in my cart for like 3 years now. And it's a Who Decides War hoodie that represents this degree to me perfectly. So this degree is Capricorn 2 degrees. It is the solution degree to 0 degrees Capricorn. And it is represented in the Sabian Symbols by 3 stained glass windows in a Gothic church, 1 damaged by war. So Who Decides War shirts, you can look it up. It's amazing. You just Google Who Decides War clothing brand. And their hoodies have these beautiful stained glass panels on them. And some of them are damaged looking and some of them are perfectly brilliant and beautiful looking. Some of them are like destroyed by war. Some of the, like, it's very, very beautiful and aesthetically pleasing to look at. But this degree is so powerful because it's about seeking sanctuary. And we have this Pope degree at 0 degrees Capricorn or 30 degrees Sagittarius, a Pope blessing the faithful. And then just 2 degrees later, 3 stained glass windows in a Gothic church, 1 damaged by war. It's about what the perils of an overconfidence in religion can really do to someone. This is where we seek a lot of our identity and our, like I said, our personal authority. 0 degrees Aries. A lot of people think what Capricorn 0 degrees is what 0 degrees Aries is, but 0 degrees Aries is like, I just got here. I literally just hit my desk and the whole thing, and I just got here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to do it at full speed. Capricorn 0 degrees is like, I know what I'm doing. I know that I'm grateful to be here. I also know that I have to take back my own power and kind of stand up and be my own authority figure this lifetime. And I'm going to go through some hardships to get there. So it's like where Aries is the infant, Capricorn is that final turn of cardinal energy that's like, oh, I'm the wise elder now. I have to bring in that wise elder energy. I have to be the authority figure in my life. I have to be the one that stands up and says enough is enough. No one else is going to come along and do it. Unless you're lucky enough to have the Pope as your personal counsel and he's like, yo, I don't know if lucky is the right word. I just view if I had the Pope as a personal friend, I would just be able to get to the Vatican libraries and learn all the ancient secrets of the world. So it's a good thing while my children are still needing me to raise them because they might be preteens and teenager, but they still need me. It's a good thing I'm not friends with the Pope right now because I would just be in the Vatican archives just like learning all the secrets of the world and you guys wouldn't be learning about the degrees. So what I'm saying is you're lucky to have me, and also I'm not friends with the Pope. But if you are friends with the Pope, seems like a pretty favorable position to be in. And then also, if you are this Indian chief and you have the ability to have the attention and the recognition from the tribe that you are assembled in front of, that has to be a pretty good feeling. And then out of 3 stained glass windows, only having 1 damaged by war is not terrible. Like, I'm looking at all the positives of these things because they're not exactly like, outside of the Pope blessing the faithful, they're not exactly the most uplifting. It's kind of like this harsh, I'm the authority figure, I'm taking over power, and by the way, I'll go to war over it, but I won't damage everything, just a little bit. You're going to get got, but you're not going to get got as bad as you could have got. That's the theme of that 2 degrees Capricorn, right? So once again, the Capricorn side of things where it's that all-encompassing, the sun dies at 0 degrees Capricorn and comes back to life. It's very, very real of the parable. So if you want to know more about that, you can check out my latest magazine, which was the winter solstice. Where is it? It's right here. If you want to check it out, I have it right here. Let's go to, first of all, look at this. Empress, you are so gorgeous. Look at you. I love this article and this interview so much. She is such a force. And then, of course, I can't say she is such a force without mentioning Leighton. Oh my gosh. Leighton is such a psychic and spiritual powerhouse, and her story is incredible, whether it's escaping from a cult that I didn't know that was in Kansas City. Like IHOP KC is something that unfortunately is in Kansas City or was in Kansas City, and it's just absolutely terrible. And all of her information's in there too. So if, like, look how gorgeous she is. Like these women in this magazine are just fucking beautiful. So this is the winter solstice article I mentioned, and you can see the little arrow where it shows the Capricorn sun. But I talk about this degree, the 0 point of Capricorn in the winter solstice article, and it's all about the Christ symbolism, the Golgotha, the skull symbolism is all about the sun pausing in the sky for a few days. But there's just so much that encompasses around Christmas time that the 0 degree of Capricorn, it's not all doom and gloom. Like if you can overcome the war within you, and you can overcome the changing of authority within you and going from the infant into the wise elder, which is really hard to do, because as an Aries, embracing the fact that I have a 10th house sun, so that means Capricorn, house of Capricorn, and then that 10th house sun is squaring my Capricorn stellium, which means I also have a 10th house stellium technically, but that Capricorn stellium's in my 6th house. So a lot going on. But if you could have told me that I'm the authority figure in my life after a certain point and after a certain age, and I could have just known that instead of just constantly waiting for somebody to get me in trouble, like, that would have been nice. That would have been real nice. But knowing that I've learned as much as I have through the methods that I have and through the chaos that I have, it does give me a certain flair to life that others do not have. So I am very proud of all the chaos I've made it through to get to my embodiment stage. All right, so we're going to finish out this Saturn ruled connection, Saturn and Saturn, with the 0 degree of Aquarius. So we mentioned the 0 degree of Capricorn earlier, and that was a bridge between Jupiter ruled Sagittarius and Saturn ruled Capricorn. So then the 0 point of Aquarius, the 0 degree of Aquarius, is going to be the 30th degree of Capricorn meets the 1st degree of Aquarius. That's a 0 point. So 30 degrees Capricorn is one that we have covered a lot. So I don't feel super called to explain this one. It is directors of a large firm meet in secret conference. This has been the degree of anaretic Pluto when it was in the last degrees of Capricorn. And a lot of things happen in secret. A lot of things continue to happen in secret. A lot of things are discussed that happen in secret, and the punishments are now happening in secret too. And there's just a lot of secrets, a lot of fucking secrets. And luckily for us, Pluto is past this stage, and Pluto is now ransacking the degrees of Aquarius instead. But because it's a 0 degree of Aquarius, we do look to the 30th degree of Capricorn, which is this directors of a large conference. Basically, this is symbolizing in the Sabian symbols that exploiting people or situations, elitism, dark rooms and huddled people, cliques and committees, those things are all dissolving, right? They got the Pluto treatment. They got it's dissolving. We've already seen commercial real estate plummet. We've seen corporations having to completely redo their daily structure with remote employees and with people that are just kind of like, fuck you, I'm not coming into the office, which I think is great. But we've already seen a very large destruction of the capitalism machine that is America. This is a degree that is very powerful. This is a degree, 0 degrees Aquarius is, like I said, the accumulation of all of Capricorn and all of Aquarius meeting at that spark point, that creation point, the zenith point, like we talked about in the astrology circles or the astrocartography circles. But this is, what are you actually involved in? This is a degree of really evaluating where you get your financial sources from. Where you get your money from is a really big source of the frequency that money brings to your life. So if you're getting money off of, let's say that you took a job at a life insurance company that calls old people and tells them for $12 a month you can leave wealth, generational wealth for your family. Whether or not this is true, usually more than not, life insurance or insurance in general can be a giant scam, which I'm not going to go into because that's a whole nother conversation. But because of these things that we know about how shit works, how the Sabian symbols all connect, we know that strategies and things in the background of life will always come to the surface. Like things that are being put into play to hurt people or harm people always comes to the surface. You cannot do anything in this lifetime without an equal or opposable, equally strong action as a result. Okay, so you can't just be like, you know what? I'm going to murder these people. Then I'm going to go live in this mansion guilt-free. That sounds exactly what I'm going to do. One, thanks to DNA and forensic evidence, that's not going to be able to happen. You can't do that anymore. Sorry, all you murderers out there that are bummed out by the DNA discoveries of modern technology. Two, in what universe is as above, so below going to be as within, so around? Whatever you want to say, whatever happens internally happens externally, or whatever happens externally happens internally. So you're going to tell me that you just absolve yourself of all guilt and responsibility? Okay, that is a bold choice. That also would be a choice of somebody that is revolutionary, liberated, wild, eccentric. Examples of 0 degree Aquarius suns are quite all over the place. I guess my phone is randomly deciding to dictate the things that I'm saying. The examples of 0 degree Aquarius suns are Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Maher, Blueface the rapper, and Buzz Aldrin. These are very eccentric, all over the place types of examples. At least we know that Blueface and also Epstein are incredibly abusive human beings. Blueface not on the same level, obviously, as Jeffrey Epstein, but it is kind of like these controversial male figures. Bill Maher, absolutely a controversial male figure. Not having any women really at 0 degrees Aquarius was an interesting example. I couldn't find any like super well-known women with Aquarius sun at 0 degrees. So once again, these 0 degree suns are not super common. It's like, this very specific place and this very specific meeting. A lot of people call this like cusp signs. No, stop. I can't do it. I used to think I was a Pisces Aries cusp because I was born within a window of a sign changing. If I hear somebody say, I'm a cusp, baby, I'm like, no, you're not. What's the exact time of your birth? You're either 29 degrees or 0. What is it? I'm insane, okay? I'm very dedicated to my exact birth times because degrees are so important in my studies, as you can tell. The 1 degree of Aquarius, which is the truth degree to the 0 degree Aquarius placement, is an old Adobe mission in California. So it's all about these spiritual retreats, these gatherings, these places where you can seek higher knowledge, seek higher ways of living, seek more communal types of... It can also be a cult, let's be real. 1 degree Aquarius can also be the cult degree if you're talking about, like, a lot of times people are like, I want a commune, and then like the commune suddenly turns into like one specific religious guru leading the rest of them. It can borderline on like, yeah, we all want land and basic rights and not to pay bills. Now we're all sleeping with each other and calling it religion. It's a very fine line, okay? Very fine line. The solution degree to the 0 degree of Aquarius is an unexpected thunderstorm. So 2 degrees Aquarius, once again, the 2 degree and degree 3 is a power degree. So when you're looking at the 0 degree of any sign, you know that 0 degrees is going to be the karmic degree. 1 degree is going to be the truth degree. And 2 degrees is going to be the solution or the way out, right? So the way out of a cult is an unexpected thunderstorm. You leave in the night. No, I mean, like, not to generalize it, but you literally do have to have a sudden awakening to understand the circumstances that you could find yourself in are because you had a lapse of judgment, or you were indoctrined into a certain way of thinking, or you were groomed in that environment. It's a very shocking degree, 2 degrees Aquarius. It also squares exactly that 2 degrees of Taurus that we were talking about, that is an unexpected lightning storm, illuminates the heavens and forest. So that squares this degree exactly. And that can kind of be like, okay, well, these 2 degrees are lightning in a bottle. It's very much this like powerful energy, but it's also about like sudden visitations from other life forms, possibly UFOs. The Tower card in tarot, this is like the ultimate Tower card in tarot. So the fact that Pluto has been jumping around 0 degrees Aquarius has been really powerful, but the 2 degree Aquarius, where it will retrograde and then go back to and then go forward, like Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for quite some time. We have plenty of time to go through all the degrees of Aquarius and talk about it, right? But it's very important that we understand that this degree, the 0 degrees of Aquarius, does include the large, directors of a conference, of secret conference, and then you have the Adobe in California, and then you have the unexpected thunderstorm. It can be very much like, what did I get myself into? The large directors of a secret conference, and then it switches into, oh, hey, come live with us. And then, oh, hey, unexpected thunderstorm is the consciousness of, I got to get out of here. So it can be a very predictive type of thing. If you have 0 degrees Aquarius in your chart, it could be like you're operating in secret. There are some things that might be a little bit cult-like in your life, but then you suddenly get yourself out of it or have a realization. 2 degrees Aquarius is also a degree that I look for in people that do weather for a living. So weather degrees for me are 2 degrees Aquarius and 13 degrees Aquarius. So it's like, those are the 2 degrees I always see as weather related degrees. So if you are, because 13 degrees Aquarius is a barometer in the Sabian symbols. So it's like unexpected thunderstorm, barometer. And so I'm like, Aquarius to me is like also understanding the weather, understanding the environment, understanding the surface that we live on. And it's like the last tumultuous thing before we get to Pisces, right? We have the 0 degrees of Aquarius, which is all about the liberation, the revolution, the movement, the unexpected, the powerful, the water bearer, the sign of great wisdom and also great consequence. And to be a water bearer means that you know where the water is, and it's like your connection to source is really powerful too. So Aquarius placements are very strong in nature and a little bit slept on. So I'm a huge fan of them. And if you have placements around 0 degrees Aquarius, it does not mean that you are Jeffrey Epstein. It does not mean that you are an abusive person. It just means that there are tendencies to abuse power with that degree of the zodiac. So we are on our last one. Oh, I'm so excited. This means that I'm like, 3 hours into talking. I think I'm really excited about this one. Let me try to drink coffee without spilling it all over myself. I did it. You guys saw it live. I didn't spill the coffee on me. All right, so 0 degree Pisces suns. Look, we're starting off with Prince Andrew. Not great. Not a great example of a human being. But then we get Benicio del Toro. We get Seal. Then Trevor Noah. And then finally Jillian Michaels. Which, these people are all powerful and strong personalities. So if you enjoy them, awesome. If not, awesome too. I don't think anyone enjoys Prince Andrew. Not even his family. But we're going to go into Pisces 0 degrees. This is the last degree that we're going to be talking about today. And then I'm going to be jumping out of here with maybe some words. If you guys have any questions or any comments, you can feel free to jump in. I don't have the chat displayed, but I can see it. And so I can always jump over there. But if you have placements around 0 degrees of anything, please feel free to share them and we can get to that. Or if you have any questions, I can answer them up to a certain point. I am a manifester in human design, so I am not designed to respond. I'm designed to initiate, to inform, and lots of things. But other than that, I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's all I got. So, 0 degrees Pisces sun that trines your Cancer 0 degree moon. That is going to be powerful. So, with that being said, if you've got a 0 degree Pisces sun, this is going to be a very informative little moment here. But the 0 degrees of Pisces is going to stem from the 30th degree of Aquarius, like we've talked about with every other sign. I just want to make sure, because if I cut these down to like individual degree, like 0 degrees, that everyone will know the same information, right? So very beautiful 30th degree of Aquarius here. Moonlit fields, once Babylon, are blooming white. So first of all, this is like the most beautiful place you could ever imagine, right? The fields of Babylon and the Garden of Eden, all the symbols of the Bible just coming out of the true Mecca and the true place of creation, or where we're from, right? And it's all about the past generations that have come from us, the places that we are from. Maybe that is the Holy Land for some of you. It's all about the rebirth and the understanding of the ancient worlds, incorporating the ancient with the modern. And then, speaking of ancient to modern, we go to the 1 degree of Pisces, which is the truth degree to the 0 degrees of Pisces. This is represented in the Sabian symbols as a crowded public marketplace. And that's all about interactions, community, exchanges, bartering, retail. If you really enjoy retail work, you might have placements around this, and it might be something that you just love, interactions with people, like quick interactions, usually money related interactions. So you like making money, you like commerce, you like the exchange of goods and services. It's something that really can light you up. It can also be really overwhelming, right? This is a degree that if you are not good with all those things, it can kind of feel like social anxiety going out and like going into the world. So part of the solution degree is also about that hiding energy, as Pisces 2 degrees is a squirrel hiding from hunters. And that is all about fear, worry, and apprehension. And it's not a solution to be afraid of crowded public marketplaces, and it's not a solution to remembering the ancient. But I really do think that having the all of these kind of pulled together, it's like you remember that you are ancient, remember the source, remember that you are divinely and perfectly made to be imperfect, right? None of us are perfect on this planet. And if you remember the beauty of where we come from, the fear of where we go next is not that strong, right? Like we have this fear of the unknown, but if you remember that you are from source and nothing can hurt you or harm you, then you are able to kind of connect a little bit more with your higher self. That fear can go away, and then you can be out in that crowded public marketplace without it feeling like an overwhelming like situation. It can also be that degree can also, the 0 degrees of Pisces going from the 30th degree of Aquarius to the 1 degree of Pisces. That 1 degree of Pisces can also be about taking advantage of situations, maybe being greedy, working too hard, or people taking advantage of you being a hard worker. But the hiding thing, like the squirrel hiding from the hunters at 2 degrees, is all about knowing when it's safe to come out and show yourself. So the ancient energy combined with the public marketplace, and then it's hiding. So it's like, how do we hide from what is truly meant for us, or why do we do that? It can be for survival. We talk about how people that should be on display or have this larger than life personality or have these things that are all about not being the victim. You know, one way to not be the victim is don't get into a situation where you're the victim so you can hide. But constantly hiding does give this fear-based kind of nervous system regulation, which I get it. I get why squirrels are so anxious and they jump around so much, because if you've been constantly hunted your whole life, you probably would do the same. So a lot of this is being like, there's all sorts of agoraphobia, claustrophobia are also things of this degree. So remember not to hide too much. Remember that it's okay to hide when you need to, But part of the reason that some people don't unlock their creativity this lifetime, or they don't remember their source this lifetime, is because they're too busy hiding parts of themselves and not busy enough living parts of themselves. And so that can be the danger of 0 degrees Pisces, is being trapped in the ancient past and just wishing things were a different way. Sometimes, selling your goods for too little can be karmically, not great for you. Sometimes selling them for too much can be karmically not great for you. It's all about what you offer. And if you offer an earnest and solid product and you offer it for a fair price at a marketplace, chances are you're probably going to sell out. And if it's useful enough, chances are people will want it. So it's also a degree of commerce, knowing that like the supply and demand is there. And then you get to that final part of that 0 degrees Pisces and you're like, I'm so tired of being the victim. I'm so tired of hiding from people. How do I get out of this? And, the degree that is the way out of this for the 2 degree, if we were looking at 2 degrees Pisces, we'd look at 2 degrees for the karmic, we'd look at 3 degrees for the truth, and 4 degrees for the solution. The solution from getting away from hunters is going to a seaside resort, apparently, as that one is heavy car traffic linking to seaside resorts. But that's more about movement, going with the flow, going where you're wanted, going where you're appreciated. So it's very important. Nodes at 0 degrees, would you follow the same logic, Sabian Symbols? Absolutely. Having your nodes at 0 degrees is like you are drawn into whatever sign that is. You are fully engulfed in that energy in a way that your life doesn't really show up until like you're 18 or so, like that first nodal return. You really get absorbed into whatever hyper focus that is. I'm lucky enough to have, like I said, my 3rd house starts at 0 degrees Virgo, and my 9th house starts at 0 degrees Pisces, and I have a 0 degree Uranus in Capricorn, squaring my sun exactly. It's so fun next to my Saturn. But there's just so much about what you kind of like tie in to these degrees, and the meaning that you give it gives it everything. Like if you sit there and say 0 degrees is a portal to everything I want, my 0 degree sun or my 0 degree nodes or my 0 degree Mercury, whatever it is, this is the absorption point. It's like the sum of all parts between whatever 2 signs it is, and they meld together, and the best of both of them are allowed to live in there, and you throw out the junk, right? So if you have nodes at 0 degrees Virgo, holy crap, that would be like knowing everything and nothing all at once. If you have nodes at 0 degrees Gemini, 3 degrees Gemini is the exalted degree for, I think, the North node, I'm pretty sure. 3 degrees Gemini, yeah, because my moon is at 3 degrees Gemini and my partner's south node is at 3 degrees Gemini. So I'm like, oh, yours is reversed. But having nodes at 0 degrees, you really do kind of need to bridge that gap between whatever it is, whatever sign is before, and then the actual sign. So it's definitely a lifelong balance, because the part about 0 degrees that I mentioned earlier, that is what I believe, it's ruled by Virgo. If we're following the traditional degree theory system, 29 is that Leo degree, 28 is Cancer. So Cancer ruled degree of 28, the Leo ruled degree of 29. What would be next? Virgo with that 30th degree. So the 30th degree being the 0 degree, having the 0 degree of anything means whatever placement you have at that 0 degree, you have to rebirth through the proverbial 0 giant womb again. I know it's so weird to be like, degree theory is the symbol, the 0 is the symbol of the birth of the womb and like the accumulation point. But, part of the birth process is taking one thing from your father and one thing from your mother, combining them together to get you. So that's also 2 things becoming one thing and becoming a total of one thing, which is that 0 thing. So the North nodes at 0 degrees would indicate to me that you are here to give birth to a very strong purpose in life. And if it's not a literal giving birth to like a child, it can be a creative project that you give birth to, a brand that you give birth to. it's not necessarily giving birth in the same sense of like it passes through the vaginal canal. It's giving birth through a spiritual idea, a concept, a mindset, a practice, a new venture in life, a new career, a new path. So all of those things are very much coinciding to bring so much excitement and gifts to the world with this 0 point energy of every single sign. So with that being said, I did mention the eclipse is happening in a couple days. Without being rude, and that's I mean, I have Mars on my descendant exactly. So Mars opposing my ascendant, I can come off as a little bit rude at times. The lunar eclipse on 3/3 at 333 is a karmic reckoning for people with sun signs, like whatever it is that people are saying about this like numerology side. Numerology to me will drive you insane because numbers without symbols are fucking crazy, right? So you got to have a grounded practice if you're doing numerology. You've got to have some sort of system with it, because numbers it'll make you think that the gas station prices are talking to you in symbols. Like you have to be grounded if you do numerology, just like you do with astrology. But combining the numbers and degrees with the symbols and all of that is my strong suit. There's nothing that I can really do about eclipse season being chaotic. I was born during a solar eclipse window, and I bring solar eclipse energy to almost everything that I do in life. I go forward and conquer whatever I need to do in ways that might seem like really hard to do to other people. I just don't know any other way. I don't know how to do things the easy way. I've never once sat back and waited for somebody to create something for me. So I'm always going to tell people, if you want something done and you want to see something in the world, be that change and bring it to life, like in whatever way you can. So the eclipse season for me is, that 28-degree Aquarius eclipse was intense. And if you think that this next one is going to be anything less, it starts at the degree of a bride with her veil snatched away, with all the things that I've learned in my research of the Kennedy family is a very prominent degree in the women's chart. 12 degrees Virgo is a very strong degree in most of the Kennedy women charts, or the women that married into the Kennedy family. So it's a very strong degree around them. It's a strong degree around, it's the 13th degree of Virgo is all about a statesman overcoming political hysteria, which I think applies to this last few days more than ever. And then the 14th degree of Virgo, which is the solution, is finely lettered names and mysterious lines are seen. It is a family tree. So I don't know if this is like some sort of, hey, we're all going to find out about the 13 families finally, or we're all just going to become aware of these things. Like, I don't know what it is, or we're going to understand that, this predatorial energy of these really dark people that are in the news these days is something that has passed down through time, and it is a humanity problem versus an individual problem. So maybe we're all going to come to that awakening. Maybe we're all going to come to realizations that we didn't think were possible before. But I think the way that we get through this one is through connecting to our lineages more and connecting more to our roots. And I very much feel that a lot of our secrets and a lot of our pain lives within the family tree, and unlived lives of my grandmothers, where my grandmother was a medical librarian that never learned how to drive because she always had a driver. And she was amazing in that regard. I love that for her. I love that she never learned how to drive because she didn't need to. Very much passenger princess energy. I love driving, and I'm really good at it in the fact that I feel very connected to cars. I'm observant. I am learning to be more patient and understanding that not everybody has this like natural love of driving like I do. I could never be a Formula One driver because that would require way too much thinking and planning ahead. But I do love just the art of driving and the flow of traffic. It's very soothing to me in ways. I also sleep really great in cars when I know people that I can trust are driving, so that's cool. But my whole thing was I was such a independent person that's all I did was drive around. So that was my one grandma's partially unlived life that I feel like I got to kind of live out as being the eldest of two eldest siblings. So my mom was the eldest sibling of her siblings and my dad was the eldest of his. So yeah, I have a lot of you can't tell me what to do energy there. But you know, knowing that lives within me. And then my other grandmother was heavily involved with the Eastern Star Order and was very interested in the occult and the mystic and astrology especially. And I get to live that life through my current life now while honoring her and my other grandmother. So it's like all of these things that we get to experience as people and as humans on this earth collectively, like these eclipses, they bring us together. And if they don't bring us together, then they bring us closer in some way. And so these, I think, are more symbols of go within in order to know where you're going, know where you've been, you know, that kind of thing. You know, I think a lot of past life regressions, like through quantum healing, hypnosis therapy is going to be a huge thing. Coming up, a lot of people with Saturn and Aries that are going through their Saturn returns might go into more strange ways of handling things, because like Saturn and Aries is all about these mental health breakthroughs, and maybe psychedelics become more of a therapy that is widely considered. So whatever it is that you decide to go with, I highly recommend knowing thyself. I highly recommend exploring thyself, and I highly recommend giving astrology a chance to show you your own personal magic through your chart, through the transits, through happenings all around you. But it does give you a little bit of an edge in all things in life and all areas of life. I could go on for hours about it, honestly, but I already have. You guys know what I have to say. The 0 degrees are now etched in history from my voice and from my perspective and my knowledge of the Sabian symbols. So I will now be able to release all the thoughts I've had over the years about how I need to say this. I've said it. It is out there. And I have enjoyed every single moment of this conversation with you all. And I appreciate your thoughts chiming in at the end there. Any questions or anything, if you want to send them, you can always DM them to me as well. I am a chatterbox. Twitter is the one place that I am always yapping, because Instagram is fucking weird. Too many fucking ads that you can't ignore. Twitter, I just scroll by them and it's like, okay, cool. You know, Facebook, I deleted. No way. Definitely not going onto Blue Sky. I started a TikTok. Okay, that's one thing I did new. I did start a TikTok. If you want to go to tiktok.com/northernastrology, you will find me and my no post and me following my man, and that's it. So far nothing's happening over there, but it did happen. I am finally on TikTok against my will, but also I know it's for the betterment of me. I got to stay current. I got to stay modern and moving with the times. Thank you, Stephanie, for watching. Thank you, Helena, for asking questions. Thank you for Paro Studios for mentioning that Jesus is the first victim of cancel culture. That is absolutely brilliant. And this has been an incredibly fun show, a pulling of my knowledge out of my head show, and a very, very, very informative show. So I hope that if anything, you guys have been able to take all of this and apply it to some part of your chart. If not, I will be back next time with 1 degree of all the signs in the zodiac, and we'll be breaking that down little by little as we go. So I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Gracey with Northern Astrology. And this next scene, you can check out all the things I have for free on my website. Later.